Wrong one. Alrighty. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for everyone who is joining us live and everyone who is watching in the replay. So, welcome to the True Sky Crew podcast, where we teach you to look up. This season's theme is United Under One Sky, because we are meant to celebrate our differences, but one fact remains the same. We all have the same sky above us, and the celestial positioning is scientific fact. And when you align with the true sky, you align with your true self. We're all united under one sky, and we are aiming to help everybody connect with true sky astrologers around the world so we can all get connected to the actual celestial sea. I'm your host, Sachi the Seer, and oh, I have some reverb. Hold on a second. There we go. Oh, all right. I forgot to turn my sound off on YouTube. Sorry, y'all. So I am your host, Sachi. I can be found at Sachi the Seer on Instagram, YouTube, X, and Threads. We have a very special guest with us today, Sanja. But before I introduce her, please make sure to subscribe to the True Sky Crew here on YouTube, of course, and follow us on Instagram for more True Sky information. If you're interested in a private assessment of your True Sky astrology chart, the books are open for analysis. You can either do a 3 or 5 question or a full chart analysis in video format. And this includes your charts, star activations, and alignments. So you will get very detailed info about the specific stars that are relevant to your chart, as well as, of course, the well-known sign and house information that you are used to. And if you are interested in getting this information, along with your star activations and data, you can go ahead and book that on my website at sachitheseer.com. And if you're interested in getting your True Sky astrology chart without an analysis, so if you just want to know what your star activations and alignments are, you can also do that at sachitheseer.com. And that can be found under True Sky Astrology Tools. So if you go to Sachi the Seer, go to the more, or sometimes it's 3 dots, the ellipsis. If you go to True Sky Astrology Tools, all that stuff is there, or you can go to, yeah, I'm also now offering transit reports. I forgot that I did that. You can go to astrology services for all the services. The tools are here. Make sure that you get your wall calendar as well, which shows you celestial information on a daily basis. It's a great way to have things at a glance of all of the True Sky info. So without further ado, we are welcoming our special guest, Sanja. Sanja Rose is a mama, a sacred brand alchemist, a cosmic guide, an artist writing poems, songs, and books. She is the founder of Shakti brand and her conscious commerce and brand co-creation agency. Sanja has 15 years of experience building brands and 8 years of full-time entrepreneurship wisdom. She is passionate about building cosmic, earth-loving, and empowering businesses with today's leaders and creators, which I'm sure is you, listener. Sanja is also the creator of True Star Art, a space to learn and to read and embody the natural sky through an integration of astronomy, visible 13 sign astrology, and human design. She loves sharing her wisdom of the cosmos to empower individuals, families, and organizations. You can find her speaking on these various magical topics with epic creators on her Shakti Waves podcast and YouTube channel. So you can find her at her Instagram, which is at Sanja, spelled Sanja. You can email her at sanja at sanjarose.com, sanjarose.com. And you can go to her website, which we will pull up here. And her cosmic arts training can be found on her, let's see, at Shakti School of Magic teachable.com. So she has her cosmic arts training here, which has all of her transmissions and downloads. And then we also have, you can find her at sanjarose.com. And I'm sure all of her information and services can be found here as well. So please go check her out. Give her a follow on Instagram. She also runs at True Star Art on Instagram and at Shakti brand as well. So give all those a follow. And without further ado, welcome. Sanja, thank you so much for joining us. Please share a little bit more about yourself and when you came in, or when you connected with astrology and when you had your true sky awakening.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me here. I feel so blessed to be sharing this space with someone who's so passionate about sharing the true natural sky with others. I feel very, very passionate about that. And your introduction of me almost made me giggle because I am a manifesting generator in human design, and we're not going to be talking about that today, but I'm very multi-passionate, as you can see. There's a lot of various things that I do, and it's very unique that my intersection is very much like cosmic commerce. Most of the time when I do readings for people, it is to help them with their North Node, their Midhaven, their mission, their art, their work, their leadership in the world. Yeah, sometimes I look at a chart and I'm getting marketing ideas, right? So it's this very unique
Awesome.
blend that I do. And even when someone isn't building a brand or has, some sort of sacred mission that they're going towards in life, it's so powerful, like what astrology can do for self-love and self-understanding. And for myself, I was always really fascinated by astrology. Like I remember being a kid and reading every single horoscope and every magazine or newspaper. Like I'd always read it. And I was quite obsessed. I was quite obsessed with being like a Western Scorpio, and which is very stereotypical of Scorpios. And it wasn't until my Saturn return that I wasn't aware of, like I didn't know that I was in a Saturn return until I was having my Saturn return. And my Saturn is in the 8th house in Sagittarius, which is a very prime placement for let's unearth some past life expansive knowledge. And that's when I remembered that I had been an astrologer for many, many lifetimes. And one day I literally looked at a chart and it just started screaming at me and giving me information. And that day was during I think it was during Libra season, like 2019. And I just started doing readings from then on. And then very quickly, because I'm very investigative, I like to analyze and find out information. I love science. I love reality, is what I'll say. I've always been a very skeptical, spiritual person, skeptical oracle, I'd say. And I immediately knew that there was also sidereal and Vedic astrology. And so a lot of the times when I was hosting moon circles quite often. And I realized that oh, there's two perspectives. So I was just giving both of them until one day, my friend and I, who is also a true sky astrologer, we looked up at the sky and we pulled out astronomy apps we downloaded. I like Star Walk 2. That's the one I like to use. And we pointed it to the moon because we could see some stars around the moon. We're like, oh, where's the moon? Let's look at the moon. And we go, oh, the moon is in Cancer. That's interesting. We were just doing a reading that said the moon was in Leo, but that's impossible because it hasn't even gone into Leo. We're like, what's happening here? And then we literally looked all around. We're like, oh my gosh, the visible sky is very different from what we've been teaching people and talking about in our Western astrology readings. And it was a very interesting um, ego death, I would say, like just the identity death that comes along with aligning to the natural sky is very intense to go through, but then also like deal out. It's like, here you go. let your vision of yourself that you've been conditioned since you were a child reading magazines die so that you can reconnect to your true self and remember it. And it was very, very intense. And for a little while, I was like, okay, like what place does Western astrology have? And the more that I sat with it and the more research I did, I was like, oh, okay, it has no place. And it is a dark, dark, nefarious system of artificial, I wouldn't even call it intelligence. It's like
Yeah.
artificial power.
Ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Artificial
control.
soul recognition almost. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
soul impositions.
Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting, but it's like once you see the sky, you can't unsee that. And then I slowly started, and then of course I learned about Ophiuchus. It was all 2020. I mean, 2020 is the
Yeah.
year.
Yep.
Many of us, because of the
Yep.
Great Conjunction, we were looking at the sky because the Great Conjunction was visible and we could see it. And that was actually peak in terms of like Google search. Like that was peak astrology time was the Great Conjunction because people were
Hmm.
looking at the sky and I witnessed it and I learned, that it wasn't actually where people were saying that it was. And it's been a very fun ride the last 5 years ever since. I completely like let go of Western astrology in like 2021. So you could say I've been like a pure true sky astrologer since 2021. Preaching the gospel.
Yeah.
Heaven, the heavenly gospel, truly.
Yes.
Um, and it's been interesting. It's been a journey. There's been many times where I've wanted to quit because the resistance was so intense. Also many times where I was like, I don't want to fight people, but also times where I'm like, I'm ready to fight people. I'm in those comment sections.
Yeah.
It's been tumultuous to say the least, but beautiful, profound.
Absolutely. Yeah. It at this moment, those who of us who are moving against that grain or even moving perpendicular to it and causing even more agitation, we are showing the way. We're running so that the future generations can walk when it comes to astrology. So we both
Mhm.
deserve to give ourselves a little pat on the back. I definitely know it's not easy. And I'm sure all of you out there watching live or on the replay know it as well. It can be quite difficult to have this conversation with people. It can be difficult to have people who, express themselves as, spiritual or a realist or, open-minded, completely shut down when we talk about the actual celestial heavens.
Mhm.
Um, so I am curious, Sonia. So you were a tropical Scorpio. I was as well. Are
Oh,
you a true Libra or Virgo?
I'm a true Libra.
Okay,
Mhm.
me too.
Right on the cusp. I was
Okay.
gonna say, I'm like, I was gonna say earlier, because I don't know your chart, but I'm like, oh, I feel like our birthdays are very close together.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
When is your birthday?
I don't give out that public information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Um,
that. Is
see, my Scorpio Mercury is like,
I get
I still
that.
have the privacy of a Scorpio, I would say, but a lot less so than when I was tropical. Back then, I avoided all facial recognition software
Mhm.
completely, off of everything. Never shared who I was on the internet or anything. So I like being a Libra. Ugh, so much better now.
It's,
It's a
oh my
lot
gosh, I
lighter.
felt the weight off my shoulders. I
Yes.
was like, oh my gosh, thank the Lord. I
Yes.
don't just need to be rebirthing and living in the underworld,
Yes.
transmuting, sin and death and
Exactly.
rebirth consistently. It was nice. I mean, I do still have um a few significant Scorpio placements, but
Mhm. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, we have that ability, but it's not our entire life anymore. And oh my goodness, I'm so thankful for that because yeah, I really was living in the underworld. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
it's so much nicer now. So everybody in the chat, let us know how you are doing, how things are going. How was this last month? What are you looking forward to this month? We are going to be doing a transit report together. So we are going to decode the sky from today, the end of August, until the end of September. And if you have any questions along the way, drop them in the live chat and I will read them and Sonia and I can discuss them along the way. So we are going to start. Let me pull up the Sky app. Oh, right on Ophiuchus. Yes, we're doing that
There it is.
healing.
Yeah.
We're
It's like,
doing
don't
it.
you forget about me.
Yeah.
A little ficus joke.
Uh, right.
Mm.
So we are amongst Leo season,
Hmm.
fixed fire season. So we have the sun, which we just went through that new moon that activated Royal Star Regulus. That was last Saturday. And the sun is moving along through Leo. We'll be moving into the Leo Virgo void as it is conjuncting with Mercury. And we'll be moving through Virgo through the rest of this month into October, which we will only go through like 26th, 27th. But Sonia,
Mm.
um what's the energy you have for like Leo and then transition from Leo to Virgo and anything human design related that you want to pull in here?
Mm. So this is personally a very interesting cycle for me because I'm literally getting married in a month at the end of this reading, like in the midst
Oh, yes, like congratulations.
after two eclipses. So I'm like, oh, I chose to get married after two eclipses. Great. Good call. Um, I think what's really interesting, I always love this time period. Again, bringing it into the personal and then making it collective. In human design, there's something called the design date, which is 88 days or about 3 months before you're born is your design date. And mine happens to be this week. And it's right around the heart of the lion. And I always call this your soul's birthday because back when I was teaching Kundalini yoga, I don't do that anymore because down with dogma and always. And um, there was this knowing that souls enter the body around the 120th day of pregnancy, which is around 3 months before 9 months. And so I always consider this the soul's birthday, kind of the day the soul entered the body. So this is a very unique personal time for me. And if you were born around the same time I was, it might also be a significant time for you. But collectively, we're all, like you said, united under the same sky. And to be at the position of the heart of the lion when the lioness really represents the heart is a very profound activation. Um, and it really reminds me of getting into what our soul like really, really deeply cares about. Like, what are we here to lead with that our heart is deeply aligned to? That often does take courage to be that honest, that truthful with ourselves, and then to go forth and do what it is that we need to do. I really feel that Leo is that natural progression from like all of the sensitivity of Cancer and the vulnerability that Cancer season brings up to be expressed in Leo season. And then we like anchor it down and make it a system and make it our daily embodiment during Virgo season. So it's a very powerful transit to be like, oh, what do we really deeply care about right now? How is that being activated? And then as we move into Virgo, especially with it being first the crown and then the head and then the chest of Virgo going into the womb, it's like, okay, how do we bring that into our daily life? Like, how do we actually be the leaders that our heart wants us to be? And depending on what personal transits you're moving through, that can look very different for every individual. Um, but, sometimes a leadership activation doesn't necessarily mean that you're going out there and being more visible or that you're, you know, just performing in some way. It can also look like deleting all the apps from your phone so that you can actually be present in your life, right? And be a leader in your own family or in your own community or in your own world. Like it doesn't have to look like a stereotypical way that we define, leadership or performative anything on the internet. It's kind of what I'm feeling so far. Um, and the other thing that there is to say with that, especially considering the inner child and remembering like that our soul decided to come to this earth for a specific reason. And when we came to the earth, we were just a baby and just a child. And that is always the purity and the source of where we are. And reconnecting to the heart is always a reconnection to the inner child and the truest, purest desires of what it is that we're here to do that will give us joy and that will spread joy to the world. And like I said, sometimes it might not be the conventional mental thing that we might want to do. This is why I'm glad that Leo comes before Virgo, because if Virgo was owning over the inner child, like we would just get into paralysis of, is it going to be good enough? Is it going to be perfect enough? Like, oh, have I analyzed everything and come to this conclusion that makes perfect sense? And now let's go make the daily commitment and the discipline to make it a reality and a lived truth. No, Leo's like, this is what my heart wants, and I'm going to be bold enough to claim it. And then you get to embody it, right? I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree. A lot of it does have to do with the inner child and the creation codes that come from Leo as well, that are then birthed through the canal of Virgo are also so important. And the the systematic aspect of Virgo of what your habits are and your routines and things like that, and how they can have a feedback loop to Leo of is this, fostering my creativity, my soul expression, my authenticity, and things like that. So I really love the feedback loop between Leo and Virgo because even though, of course, the shadow side can be the perfectionism or self-deprecation of Virgo, or the to the extreme of megalomania of Leo, or complete self-absorption, the when both energies are balanced, it's really wonderful because you can just be like such an ultimate creator and create so many things and do so many things and share your light, but also stimulate others to do the same. I really love this area of the sky so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And so I'm going to, do you have more thoughts on that area?
I think that's it.
Okay, so I'm going to go and talk about the star activations, and anytime, please jump in and share about the human design aspect or any other thoughts that you may have. So as I mentioned today on the 26th, so we still have the sun that is activating Royal Star Regulus. Again, we did just have that new moon, which was absolutely lovely. So this stimulates a lot of leadership and a sense of authority, that inner authority, in addition to those who believe that they have authority over others. And the energy of this star causes people to want to leave their mark on society in one way or another, for better or for worse sometimes. And it holds codes that can defy all odds, even to the extent of achieving something by like violating current models of understanding or principles of mathematics and things like that. That is the type of royalty energy that comes through Regulus, of kind of the force of sheer will and what that
Mm-hmm.
can do in terms of what the already understood models of reality are. And the energetics of Regulus do cause DNA, royal DNA activations within everybody. So it solidifies the highest forms of free will and sovereignty codes within us all. And it does also hold the code for those who actually want to, or who are meant to be in positions of leadership or roles where they are designed to um, rule or be ahead of other people in a very healthy and energetically balanced way. So, if you have Royal Star Regulus activated in your chart, there's a very real chance that in this lifetime you are meant to be in some sort of position of authority, but one where it's like I don't want to say you're elected because it's sort of a self-electing kind of thing, but you have the potential to be a good leader. Like there's a very real reality of the world that we live in where people are in positions of leadership. And even though this is the heart of the lion, it's also very closely associated with the solar plexus in terms of willpower, pride, personal power, and then, of course, being the heart of the lion, it is all about self-love, to the point of true, authentic soul expression and creation, as well as like giving and receiving love from others as expressions of a divine exchange, which is all about that like the pack mentality energy that comes through Leo as well. Around September, let's go in here. Let's see. All right, so we have the sun moving around probably September 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. It is going to be in conjunction with Mercury during this time. It is activating Sigma Leonis. Let's see. Okay, this star right here. I don't know why. Sometimes it lets me click on the star, sometimes it doesn't. But Sigma Leonis is a star that is associated with extreme heat and the fire element, and
Mm,
listening to divine guidance and allowing that divine guidance to allow you to put the action and work into, um, because it's Leo, a lot of it is inner child, expressing one's light, authenticity, and putting that fire element into action. So the passion that you have, the fire that you feel, and utilizing it for that for a purpose that you're actually very passionate about, um, by transmuting it into action, by taking action with it. So this star desires and wishes come true as a result of action and positive attitude. So it's a really great time, especially because the sun is there. Whatever the core of who you are, whatever wants to be expressed, whatever wants to be created, use that firepower through this star in order to materialize whatever it is, whether it's an actual creation or whether it's an action that you need to take for that creation.
mm.
Um, and the shadow side of the star is burning out. So that is definitely something with the sun there. You don't want to burn out. So make sure that you're, taking aligned action. Aligned action will never cause you to burn out. And interestingly enough, this star is also associated with silicon-based life forms. So there's a lot that has to do with AI and sort of those sectors of life forms. So this activation specifically, I'm going to be intaking data on how that materializes for us this time. Because right now it looks like it could play out in a lot of different ways. So we'll see what happens with that.
I was gonna say, I'm like, oh my gosh, Mercury Sun conjunct that. It's like everyone's got to get a chip in their brain. Like,
Well, I would say they're probably going to try to push that for sure. Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. Um,
Mm,
and I'm sure if it's not the cerebral implant agenda that they're pushing, I'm sure that they will probably be pushing the like silicone body life forms. So I know they're already making like the sex dolls and things like that. And it feels like there may be an introduction of like a new species that do a certain thing, whether it's like household chore type robot or whatever it is. But it definitely feels like they're taking a form like in a very big way around this time.
wow.
So let's see, for better or for worse. I'll say better. I still believe in our utopian timelines, even though these things are happening.
Hmm.
So around September 18th, peaking on the 19th, the 20th, maybe even into 21st, the sun is activating Zavajava and of Virgo. So we talked a little bit about this on the last transit episode, but Savajava is the star that is associated with the administrative tasks of keeping law. So documentation, paperwork, all of that. It's also associated with sounding the alarm when there is very real danger. So sometimes it can materialize as like a tornado sound or something like that. But it's a very protective star. It puts people who have um, urges that are not good for the general society, puts them like in cages energetically so that they cannot inflict a danger on others.
Mm,
So most of it is this, to the extreme extent, it's to preserve purity in some sort of way or safety of the innocent for when people are completely out of whack.
mm,
This is going to be stimulated more during the eclipse. So, with the sun and moon there, but we'll talk about that when we get to that. And then on September 22nd, next day is the equinox.
mhm.
So, we'll talk about this very shortly with the moon stuff coming up, but we are in eclipse season. So we have both eclipse and then right after that, the equinox. So the equinox on the 22nd. For those who might not be aware, the equinox is when we are halfway between the solstice points, and then it marks when the sun is over Earth's equator between the solstice points. So typically, it's kind of a balance and equilibrium checkpoint for the collective and on a personal level. Um, and Sonia, do you have any thoughts on like equinox energy?
Mm. I think it's very interesting. The overall narrative that you just told us about is our deepest, like true, heartfelt, innocent leadership proclivities and passions are coming out. And then there's this reckoning. There is this writing of it's like let the true leaders lead. Let the heart, oh, like heart led, soul led people who actually love people, right? Be the ones to serve the people. And I really think that this equinox point, especially when it comes into bringing it into balance with this star, I love the name of it. Can you say it again? It's very fun to say.
Yeah, Zava Java.
Zava
That,
Java.
that's the way I say it. That's the way I
Yeah.
say it.
I love it. Um, it really feels like there will be, I feel like people are saying this all the time, but there truly will be some level of exposure of something that is not legal, that is not right, that is not correct, that can't go on. Um, and I think it'll be interesting, like looking back at this time in the future, it will be very fascinating to think about how these were the moments where the information and the truth was being exposed. And in the future, that's just kind of the standard. Like I was like, oh, it'll be funny for my grandchildren to like laugh and be like, politicians used to take like bribes and they would make money off the stock market, even though they were in on everything that was going on. And I'm like, yeah, it was a wild west out there. And
Exactly.
I
And also
really
like, oh, that was your form of government? Ugh.
or like, yeah. And uh, and it's like, oh, there was just other adults telling other adults what to do. It's like, what? And taking their money and then doing what they wanted with it, but then lying. It's actually a wild, wild reality that we live in, like once you know. And I think what's going to be interesting is there will be like some precedent set of some kind. And I think, this could happen like on the collective stage, but I really do think that this is also happening internally. And I was just speaking about it on my Instagram stories yesterday that the time for leaders that are so egoic and, narcissistic or uh, obsessed with thinking that they know what's best and that they're serving the world by having their unique perspective and having everyone follow along, that time is coming to an end, right? Um, Pluto is moving away from Sag ever so slowly,
Yeah.
but it really is like that time of like the guru leader is coming to an end, especially people that take advantage, that especially ones that hurt and coerce and commit crime. It's going to be slowly, slowly exposed. And I think it'll be present in like a lot of different leadership spaces. Um, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, I definitely feel that. And that is such a great point. And of course, it would be the energetics of Virgo that
Mm-hmm.
sees it and then holds them accountable of like, this
Uh-huh.
is not right. It's
Mm-hmm.
the angels of the zodiac doing the earth angel things that they do of really doing the difficult job of pointing out the mistakes, of pointing out like how you are fucking up and then how restitution is going to happen in order for balance to bring about. And it's very interesting because this star and the next one I'm about to talk about, Zanaya, um, both of them are associated with the legal system. So they're both very, even though they're not associated with Venus or Libra, they hold a lot of codes that Libra energy has as well. So it's very, very interesting. But both of them are sort of um, yeah, they're both very connected to politics and law, but in kind of a different way than Libra is.
Absolutely.
So we have the sun that is going to be activating Zanaya or Zania around the 26th, peaking the 27th, I'd say 28th, maybe even into the 29th of September. And again, this star is also associated with law, but it's associated with the things that are not documented. These are things off the record. So it's kind of a juxtaposition to Zavajava, where Zavajava is all of the things that are documented, that are, public information or things that you could find through the Freedom of Information Act or something like that in the United States. Um, Whereas Anaya is things like covert operations, informants, things done on the DL. It has
Mm-hmm.
a huge love for this order and cleanliness and orderliness, but it has just such a kind of underhanded way of doing things. So it's kind of like, oh, do what I say, not what I do type energy. That's the shadow aspect of it, which can be expressed in Virgo a lot, especially with their
Uh-huh.
perfectionism. Is like, I always think of like a teacher that's telling like the students to do everything exactly like this, but then in their own life out of the classroom, they don't do it that way. So that's the kind of energy that can materialize from this star. It's the energy of breaking the law to maintain it. It's the delusion that that's how you do it. And that can come through the distortions of this star. And it
Mm-hmm.
holds a lot of sexual distortions, especially how the feminine can bear the brunt of the uh, when the masculine is distorted. I'll say first, I guess, in a way. So the example that I used on the last episode that I'll bring up here is like, oh, if women can't, or if men can't control themselves because women are so beautiful or whatever, then women need to completely cover up their bodies in order to
Mm-hmm.
stop men from behaving a certain way instead of just teaching the men to behave. So
Mm-hmm.
things in distortions like that can also come through this star.
It's all a cover up. And it's really interesting because it's right close to the
Oh yeah,
chest.
cover
Oh.
up. Yeah, those I never noticed that those are both connected. It's like the cover up of like covert operations and the notion of covering up. I love that.
Mm-hmm. And it's right at the chest too, right?
Mm,
It's like literally
yeah.
at the cleavage point.
Hmm.
Virgo.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
That's so fascinating. And so I feel like just intuitively based on everything, like if something does come out, it will have to do with like women's rights. Or I remember my one lawyer friend who is a woman, she said that like the law needs to be rewritten with women included because they weren't included when the laws were written.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
I would say like Virgo to me is the one that like makes the laws, like is the law. Like Virgo to me is the law, whereas in Libra is how we all like live in harmony with it. And they like
Mm-hmm.
mediate and teach us how to like, they're the ones doing the peace treaties.
I love that. Yeah, I haven't heard it phrased that way, but it totally makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, totally makes sense, especially because Libra is the interaction. Yeah, that makes sense because if Virgo is the one creating the law, Libra is it's like the processes that kind of happen to make sure that things are, yeah, balanced in accordance to what is already scribed.
Hmm.
That's very interesting. And it can also, I mean, because of the earthiness of Virgo, Virgo can be more like natural law. And
Hmm.
we see distortions coming through it that are, unnatural law, human-made law, things like that, which
Yeah.
have their place in our world at this time. It would be great to live in a world where we didn't have to have them. And we're getting to those timelines, hopefully.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, we have to accept the very reality of like where we are and what we have to do. I'm excited to see all the shifts of the legal system that are coming up and
Hmm.
what's in store because I have a feeling we're in for quite the ride.
Oh my gosh, Pluto Capricorn. It's like I've waited my whole life.
I know, and we're so close. Um, and like I said, we're heading into eclipse season, and then we'll have that equinox. So it's really like bing, bang, boom. And this whole next 30 some days is really going to be quite intense for the collective. Eclipses always are.
Yes.
And I've already been feeling the eclipse energy for almost a month now. It was
Mm,
crazy. I was like, why do I feel like I'm in an eclipse portal already? Like the shifts and the things that have been happening have been just so interesting and monumental and kind of a whirlwind of energy. And that's
hmm
usually how eclipse seasons are. They're wild cards. So they can kind of land you on any timeline. And the best thing you can do during eclipse season is stay grounded, focus on
hmm
yourself, don't let external chaos sort of pull you out of alignment, avoid any energy harvesting of people, events, institutions, because usually during eclipse seasons, there are plenty of rituals and, public, whatever it may be, spectacles that just try to harvest the collective's energy. So please, everybody, try to avoid it. Just kind
hmm
of stay in your lane and put the blinders on to an extent with some of those things. Um, so our first eclipse is full moon north node, total lunar eclipse. It's on September 7th at 2:09 p.m. and it is activating Hydor and Phi Aquarius. It is going to be obviously opposing the sun and Mercury over in Leo,
hmm
which the sun will almost be activating Sigma Leonis. And Mercury is kind of activating the star here, which is like K Leonis, like the tiny, yeah, K Leo. I don't know. Some of them I can't click on for some reason. Um, and then it also is going to be Jupiter, trining Jupiter in Gemini, right at was that almost occulting it, like straight up right there. So lots of really amazing energy coming in. Sonia, your thoughts on this eclipse that's coming up, the first eclipse?
hmm My first feeling is like it's like Queen of Air energy coming in with that sword, being like, absolutely not. Like, this is no longer. It's like there was time before this eclipse and time after this eclipse, especially because it's a total eclipse. Like, there's nothing left on the plate after it is cleared. And I think this is special. This can be a very emotional part of the sky. I find in the human design system, it is like in the emotional solar plexus, which is the most powerful system in the body. I like to call it the waterfall of Aquarius. But it's when you start to, the waters start to enter Pisces, and it can be very emotionally intense to come to terms with the truth that is revealed within your own life and also in the collective. But it's just the truth is the truth is the truth. It's like it is what it is, and you kind of got to process whatever you have to process. And it feels like very quintessential full moon energy. It's like, oh, I have this new awareness and this new illumination, but it's very heightened. And what's helpful about it and interesting that it's trining Jupiter and Gemini is that there's a lot of like it just makes sense too. It's like, oh, this is common sense, right? As devastating as it might be to be letting go of Western astrology beliefs and conditioning, it just makes sense that the sky is the sky and to look at the sky and to study the actual living stars that surround us. And I think that it's essentially like a big reality check that can be emotional and tumultuous and bring up fears in our subconscious. But and essentially, it's here to expand us. It's here to support us. It's here to bring the people that are meant to be in our life closer to us and people that aren't meant to be out of our lives, right? Especially with that Jupiter in Gemini, it's like, oh, okay, it's like who's giving you lip service and just kind of saying things and who's actually showing up in your life as an embodied friend, right? And I think it's very interesting. Like I think it's going to be very interesting personally, but since this is also the leadership axis between Leo and Aquarius, it's going to be very fascinating on like the world stage and in all leadership in all like industries and domains as well.
I totally agree, especially because Aquarius as the revolutionary and the rebel and the one that's all about counterculture and kind of sticking it to the man and challenging the status quo. It's really going to be interesting, um, just what is happening at this time, especially because it literally could be anything. And that's what's so special, and also what's so kind of like, I don't want to use the word scary because there's absolutely no reason to fear.
It's
But
mysterious.
what's so, yes, it is so mysterious. Thank you. About this time is that literally anything can happen during eclipse season. And it's such a great um energy that is also associated with high door too, because this star specifically materializes, it's like almost like a psychic fog. So
Mm,
there's a certain level of like the unknown um that comes through here. It's like the water vapor in the air is
mhm,
high door, and it's associated with doors that are opening or closing. So there's a lot of things that can be okay. Doors are opening because there's new opportunities and things of that nature, but doors are closing either because of divine protection, or it could be a potential missed opportunity. So high door itself is kind of a timeline branch point thing based on what doors you are stepping through. And because it's eclipse season, it's even amplified to a greater degree um, of these timeline shifts that are going to happening that are happening during eclipse season, and who's going through what door, what timeline you end up being on. And Hydor itself is a very, very watery star. Like you said, it's in the water that's cascading out of Aquarius's jug, and it's associated with like marine technology and aquarium life and environmental studies specifically of like ocean life and things like that. So when you were talking about specific sectors, for example, that are coming through, I feel like those are probably going to be some really big ones that are highlighted at this time. Um, and it's also associated with the notion that the environment of something influences the observation of it. So it's kind of the way I like to describe it is if you're watching like a chimpanzee in the wild, it's going to be very different than when you're observing a chimpanzee inside of an enclosure at a zoo or something like that. So it's the energy of recognizing if you try to take something from its original environment in order to study it, which of course Aquarius is known as the scientist, loves to study things and find out, very, very intellectual. But if you take it and put it in an unnatural environment, your data is inherently tainted.
mhm,
So the energetics of that comes through Hydor. Whereas Phi Aquarius, um, which is also being activated, really, it's like for me, it's tower moment energy. That's how I would describe it, because it is known for having a very explosive energy and then a dimmer light. So the energy that happens, it's kind of associated with like things coming to a head and then it cools down.
mm,
So it is connected to like impending closures or conclusions or phases or endings. Um, and this star is whenever there's any sort of transit there, like part of life is altered or halted or dramatically changed, and usually from like an eruptive type matter. So, like I said, I always kind of associate it with the Tower card of tarot because it gives me the same type of energy from here. And then, of course, this full moon is going to be conjunct the North Node, which is currently in the Aquarius Pisces void, and it's making its way to Aquarius. So, the North Node as a lunar calculation, it points to the emotional uncomfortability that helps us move into new territory. It is, um, you know, pushing past that barrier or membrane in order to have higher soul expression, in order to ensure that you are fulfilling your soul mission, ensure that you are um, like making sure that your soul is expanding during this lifetime as well, which obviously is going to bring that discomfort. So
mm,
as we are seeing this North Node from the Aquarius Pisces void moving into Aquarius, um, which of course it goes backwards through the zodiac, just like the ages do. And this the discomfort is moving from the Pisces energy of spiritual to now the Aquarius of the technological and scientific. So it's
Mm.
really, really interesting. We've had North Node in Pisces for quite some time, and the fact that now we're shifting into Aquarius, it'll be interesting to see how the collective sort of reacts to that. Sonia, I'm really curious about your interpretation of North Node in general, and then also this transition from Pisces to Aquarius as it's occurring.
Mm. Oh my gosh. I love the North Node. I'm so grateful that we are here for the North Node because we really are here. Like that is our destiny pathway. Um, and I think of the eclipses as these big opportunities for deep realignment. And depending on your level of alignment, that might be a little bit of a shaky moment, right? Where you're like, oh, I need to exert myself a little bit. Or it might be like, oh, I feel like I've been rocked off my foundation and now something fundamentally needs to shift in my life. And that can seem devastating, but today I was talking to a client that said, like, oh, I thought this big fear that I had coming true would be the end of me, but it actually coming true was the deepest blessing of my life. And that is what I feel is very present with Aquarius North Node moving or Pisces North Node moving into Aquarius is it is like all of this healing that so many of us have been doing and starting to propagate and share and put online. It's like, oh, this actually gets to be present and tangible and be made tangible within systems. I wouldn't be surprised if very much during this like North Node Aquarius time is when we have new opportunities for individuals and the collective to heal. Even with something as simple as like, oh, now you get, and I've been hearing more about this, but now you can get like in your benefits packages, you can get therapy and counseling just a lot more than just a few sessions, or um, it just being a lot easier. It's like using the systems of modern technology as a way to help the healing happen more quickly and rapidly. I also think that there will be a lot of exposure, as has been happening for a while, but specifically around how technological exposure and AI specifically is like really not healthy for us. And like it being shared in a way that's like so down to earth and practical and clear that people actually want to do something about it rather than just feeling like, oh, what do I like kind of on the fence or like I feel like it's like going to be a line in the sand essentially that's drawn. But I am just very here for like I think of like Pisces North Node is like, you discover you and Aquarius North Node is like, okay, now let's actually surf the world and do something
Mhm.
like a bit more real and tangible with it and use technology and innovation for good. I'm always of the highest, most empowered timeline. I don't even pay attention to the other fear stuff because I used to in the Scorpio land. I did, and
Oh
I
yeah,
can't.
me too. Yeah, I'll never go back to that point.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's like for the Scorpio energy, it was kind of reinstilling. It was a feedback loop, right? It's like
Hmm.
the energy of, oh, being in the underworld, like, oh, look at this dystopian timeline. Look how right I am about it, sort of thing. But then thank goodness for the Libra energy because it's like, whoa, once you come up for air, it's like, no, actually, everything's fine and it's only getting better. Okay. So let's just focus on that. And that's literally how it comes about.
Hmm.
It's so
Yes.
funny that, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. It's a very similar experience considering like our coding is very similar. Uh,
Hmm.
but it's just always kind of funny to hear when how that stuff connects. And I totally agree, especially with the um, rather than like, I mean, I don't think AI in general necessarily has to be categorized as like unhealthy or bad for humanity, but the way that has been utilized since its birth is absolutely irresponsible
Hmm.
and yeah, not good for humanity, unhealthy for humanity. And I think that's a great point. Like the whole reason we have technology, the whole reason to invent things should be to make our lives and the rest of the world lives better.
Mhm.
It's like AI could literally be helping us help build other technology for utopian timelines,
Oh yeah.
for, free energy and things like this. It's just nonsensical that it's being utilized for other reasons, like any other reason almost.
Well, now that you've brought us back to the sun in Leo, and I think about, being a mother of a child that's about to turn a year old, like I don't put him online. And
Oh yeah, very
to
wise. Yeah.
me, and that's sometimes in some ways that's really devastating because it's like the purity and the innocence and the joy of a child. Like it can't be there. But I'm also sitting here, I'm like, why is AI being used to like literally steal people's like intellectual, hard-earned jobs and art when we literally could use AI to rid the internet of like predators and to
Exactly.
find them. And also, like, I really do think that that is like the core use of it. Like, one of the core uses is like online safety and privacy and like safeguarding, especially. And then it actually is like the core tool for that mixed with blockchain technology. My
Yes.
perspective is like once Pluto is in Aquarius and as we move towards it and as the North Node moves towards it, we will have a profound ability to have actual governance that is integrous and has checks and balances because of the technology, like exposing it and keeping it in check.
Yes.
Like
That is
we will
such a
give,
great point. Yes, absolutely. Because we'll all be connected and each of us will be our own piece of data verifying these things. I
well,
totally
also
agree.
like people in power, like they won't be able to be like, oh, like you just made $20 million off of insider trading, or you like money laundering, or you spent public funds on this thing, but it shouldn't have actually cost that much. Like that, that will be very much in check. Like I am so not into like digital currency and like, that whole timeline of like being controlled with digital money. But I do think that if you are like a public figure and the government funds in general, like that are going into like infrastructure and like public works should absolutely be very, very deeply accounted for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think through blockchain and Web3 together, which I take blockchain through Aquarius and Web3 through Pisces, that those together can really eventually, whether it's this cycle around or next time, it can completely eradicate the need for governments at all because we'll all be webbed together in an equal authoritative, like, I don't want to say authoritative, equal autonomy type
Mm,
way where everything is it's not being used to control because there is no central hub of control. And that originally was the, mentality and forethought behind blockchain, but right now it still is centralized. So that's like the biggest problem of how it has been materializing. The same with like cryptocurrencies. It's supposed to be non-centralized, but it's all centralized right now. So, it's
mhm,
like the infrastructure is there, but the core needs to shift. So I'm really, really excited for that.
mhm. Oh, it's exciting. Like
It is.
I feel excited about it, but that, the curmudgeons and the stubbornness of the system falling, like will be a sight to behold.
Yeah. I have my popcorn maker. It's a Pokeball, so I'm ready.
I was gonna say, I'm like, get the popcorn,
Yeah.
get
I
the
have
butter.
popcorn at the ready. Yeah. Yeah, so this full moon is going to be opposing the sun and Mercury. And so, as I mentioned, the sun is activating Sigma Leonis, which again is associated with those silicon life forms. So, it'll be really interesting to see how these AI life forms are influencing this eclipse. And of course, oppositions are all about balance and making sure that you don't go to the extreme. So, this star is definitely helping balance out that Aquarius energy. Um, in terms of how these silicon life forms are coming through Leo. So hopefully it won't go to too much extreme either way. And again, the star is associated with a lot of heat. So again, using that fire element to take those aligned actions to make your desires to become a reality is really important for like what doors are opening and shutting through high door. And then Mercury is activating that K Leonis, also known as 52 Leonis. And that's associated with making the necessary changes in your health and well-being and lifestyle to ensure that your fire is burning properly. So it's like it's associated with how the earth and the air element come in to help fix fire. So, um, like the low vibe of this, when it comes to health and well-being can materialize as like heartburn and indigestion and like stomach issues, GI issues, acid reflux, things like that. So the best thing that you can do at this time through, to support your fire in general, with the star, you want to be doing things to support your health when it comes to what you're consuming and movement and things like that. But with Mercury here, it's specifically about the way that you are talking about things, what you're saying, what you're listening to, how you're communicating things to yourself, to others, to the universe in general. So, things that you're hearing, speaking, and things like that. It's very, very important, especially in regards to your health. So, you know, I've had this kind of interaction on social media before, a lot lately, actually, of people saying like, "Oh, like they're depressed and there's no cure for depression," sort of thing. It's like that's such a
Mm.
downtrodden belief system. There is a cure for everything. Like if you are believing that there's no cure to something, guess what? You're never going to materialize it in your reality. You have to believe it to receive it. So having any sort of downtrodden or dystopian notion, whether it's your personal health, through Mercury, or whether it's just general things through Leo of like authoritarian, whatever. Like if you are affirming things with your speech or your mind that these dystopian things are here or anchoring, then that's the timeline you're going to be on. So it's really, really important during this time, specifically for your health and well-being and lifestyle, to only be doing these sort of high vibe affirmations um, in order to make
Mhm.
sure that it's your reality.
Pull out your Louise Hay book. You can heal your life and heal your life.
Exactly. Yeah, through neuroplasticity and epigenetics, all things are possible.
Hmm.
And then again, we do have that trining of Jupiter at Wazat in Gemini. So personally, I love Jupiter, and it's also, of course, going to be sextile the sun at the peak of the eclipse as well. But Jupiter is activating this star, and this star is actually connected energetically to Regulus. So it's very interesting because all the Regulus stuff that has been coming up is connected to this star as well. So it feels like a lot of the themes that were happening of the time of the new moon that activated Regulus that we just had this past Saturday on um, August 23rd are going to be stimulated. So pay attention to the energy that was happening then and sort of how it's reappearing, but this time through Jupiter and Gemini. So this star specifically is associated with old locations, so like places that you've been to before. So obviously, since Jupiter is the planet of travel, you may be called to travel to these places or utilize the energy of this time if you work with stars or planets to help manifest or materialize a trip to specific locations that you have been to before. It's very, very highly favored. And, if you work with Jupiter, this star is also associated with wine. So I would recommend offering Jupiter some wine at this time or accepting wine yourself through, emanation of Jupiter. But it's also connected to poisons and chemicals in general and the fermentation process and the gases that are produced during the fermentation process. So, obviously, you want to be careful of, not poisoning yourself. Again, dosage is everything when it comes to any sort of substance. So, be very mindful at this time, especially if you're enjoying alcohol or anything else. Um, and also, if you um, like with the fermentation process and things, you can, enjoy things like kombucha and things of that nature as well. So those would be good things to kind of consume, but avoid poisons in general. The shadow aspect of this star is pessimism. It's definitely one of the darker stars of Gemini. So, with that Mercury energy that was happening, again, here it's very important to be careful of your thoughts and how those thoughts and that information, that Gemini information energy is translating into belief systems of Jupiter. So, you really have to, yeah, just be very mindful of your mental space, be careful of your thoughts. Um, and this star is specifically associated with being very good at speaking truth and sharing one's truth, even if it goes against authority or going against general consensus. So it's really known for kind of going against the grain, going against the norm, or what the general population thinks. So during this time, if you feel called to share your ideas or concepts or whatever that may not be popular or may be blatantly unpopular, um, the abundance and luck and expansion energy that can come through Jupiter can only anchor if you actually share that information. So I
Mm.
recommend to do it.
I think what's so interesting about both the Mercury being at a point like at the stomach of the lion and Jupiter being at the point it's like at the stomach of Pollux is it's like what are you stomaching and like what are you consuming? Like literally that is either bringing you health and helping your gut brain, right? So much in terms of healing happens in the gut. And it could be like a real revelation, especially since it will be Virgo season, into taking care of yourself through your food and your diet, right? Food is the first medicine. And um and also maybe even having sobriety or addiction be a theme and something that you can move through or shift at that time, or moving away from people that maybe influence you to not take as much good care of yourself, with it being so close to Jupiter, and getting closer to other communities where self-care is a priority, or just a norm, a lived embodied norm. That's very interesting, like lots to digest literally with
Yeah.
the lips. Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a great point. And the whole eclipse season is like a whole digesting process because our
Hmm.
next one is also in Virgo. So this is um, a very Virgo-y time of emphasis, which of course Virgo rules the GI tract and things like that. And I think what you said is such an important point of health starts with food and the
Hmm.
quality of food that you are intaking. And food is medicine. It is the first defense. And that's the thing of if you're not ingesting and digesting literal poisons, whether it's media or actual physical things that you're eating or what you're drinking or
Hmm.
for people who use drugs and things like that, like if you're not doing that, then you'll be fine. Like you'll be healthy because that's your natural template. It's when you start ingesting and then you have to, yeah, digest all of that poison. Of course, your body is going to go into shock and start doing things that are unnatural for it.
Hmm. Mm.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I hope, especially with the Aquarius energy, which is so closely connected to like groups and communities, that more people are shifting towards group and communities that are more aligned with health conscious decisions.
Hmm. And I would just say, especially with the first one being about Leo, it's like, okay, how are you leading yourself? Like, how are you feeding yourself so that you can show up for the life that is your deepest joy, childhood joy being lived and expressed, like in your body? And then with it moving into Virgo, and especially it being at the throat of Virgo, where the solar eclipse occurs and the new moon is, it's like, okay, this is a new moment to like, again, I think the throat is like the gateway towards the stomach, and also in terms of our own expression. And I can even just say today, like this morning, I was feeling anxiety because I'm wedding planning, kitchen's a mess, dealing with the baby, etc. And I was like, oh, and why am I feeling anxious? And I call my fiance and he's like, oh, have you eaten anything? And I'm like, oh, I literally forgot to eat because I was just doing 100 things. And that is just the reminder is to feed yourself well, but also not to get so hard on yourself if it's not perfect. And also not to get overwhelmed with the analysis of like, oh my gosh, but what about these pesticides? And does it all have to be organic? And like the overwhelm that that can also breed in people. And it's like ripe for Virgo overwhelm and overanalysis and like perfectionism. It's don't stop yourself from starting in the right direction because it's not going to be perfect at go. And don't try to have it all figured out and don't even aim that high. It's like just, if you're smoking weed every day, maybe just stop doing that. Right? Or like do it once a week or whatever you can do. Like whatever you can do to start living in a more healthy, aligned way and to feed yourself holistically better is great. It doesn't have to be like all or nothing extremism.
That is such a great point. And that's the analysis paralysis that can come in through Virgo of, yeah, wanting, if it's not perfect, well, then what's the point, sort of thing.
Mhm.
I actually once had someone say to me when I started talking about, the problems with tap water and all of that, and why I have, reverse osmosis and remineralizing system and stuff. And their thing was, well, if I did that, I'd have to do it for the entire house, which would be too expensive. And it's like, just because you can't do it for your whole house doesn't mean that you can't get a drinking water filter, like it's that approach that stops you from making any real change. And anyone who has gone from A to Z, and especially both of us being, having a past life as a Scorpio, know like dramatic change can happen, and that is very uncomfortable. That's that tower moment type change, and that's the shit. That's the shift you don't want to have. That could be a
Mhm.
shitty shift, but the real change that is peaceful and playful comes with very small actions. So the smallest thing you can do any day is really going to help you. And there was something that you said about, yeah, like getting stuck in that perfectionism or getting like overwhelmed about, oh, like the pesticides and the this and that. Like it's a very, very much a truth that most of the things in that are commercially available and sold to us are poison. Like you're not a crazy conspiracy theorist, you're not off your rocker for noticing. But I always tell this to people is like the worst thing you can do while ingesting poison is affirming that it's poisoning you. So, if you're going to eat something that's a processed food, if you're going to sit there and be a worrywart and, you know, like literally signal to your body that it is hurting you or harming you or killing you, like your cells are going to listen. If you're going
Yeah.
to enjoy those types of things, whether it's food or substances, the best thing you can do is tell your body, like, you are resilient. You're going to detox this. Everything's going to be fine. And we're working together to make a concerted effort to eat healthier and things like that. And I will tell you, as someone who 5 years ago, the toxic load in my life was so high without me even knowing it. And now, like, we make our own soaps, detergents. All our food is all natural, organic, pesticide free, or it comes from our garden. Same with our herbs. Like, we are so careful about everything we buy. We look at the ingredients of absolutely everything. We source things that are more expensive just because it's better quality and healthy, and this did not happen overnight. It didn't.
Hmm.
But really, if you make concerted effort, you get there eventually. So, nobody feel disheartened if you feel like you have a higher toxic load in your life right now. Just do the smallest little thing that you can.
Mm, I love that. It's also very much, I don't know if this is your experience, um, but I am still to this day baffled and blown away at how deeply validated I feel by the sky.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the theme, this is the whole situation that I'm currently sitting with and swimming with and dealing with in my life. And it's just being reflected in the sky. And it's so profoundly validating. It's really, really immense. And I feel as though, like, even personally, like, I have done so many like health and wellness and diet everything, but I do feel like a next layer is coming, and that's what it is. It's just like different layers and levels, and it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. Now you're growing all your own food all the time and etc. Right?
Mhm.
It's just like one choice at a time, one day at a time, replacing things once you've used them. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Yep. The phase that I'm in right now is getting rid of all of my polyester everything and only
Mhm.
wearing wool, linen, some silk and cotton because I was
Mhm.
like, oh, that's the last thing. That's the
Oh
last thing
gosh.
that's like endocrine disrupting. Dang it. Most of my wardrobe. So,
Well done. I have
thank
not
you.
been
I've been
brave
doing it for
enough.
about a year.
Yeah, well done. I have not yet been brave enough to do that. I mean, the new stuff that I buy that I wear
Mhm.
mostly is that way. I just haven't gotten rid of other things because dang it, I'm sentimental. And yeah.
I mean, us Libras, if something looks good, it looks good. Like you don't want to throw it away. I've been doing one piece by one piece.
Yeah.
So I'm replacing one piece at a time and that I can let go of it
Hmm.
that way. And like I said, I've been doing it for about a year. And I'm not halfway through yet. So so I'm
Well
getting
done.
there.
That is such a cool journey.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my style is also shifted. So it's also kind of helping. Um, but anyway, back to the sky. But I totally agree. Like it is so um gratifying as well to be like, wow, like everything that's happening in the sky and the story that the stars tell are so closely associated with life or someone who I know's life and things of that nature. So it's just really, really beautiful. Um, So yes, this next eclipse, it's the new moon, south node, partial solar eclipse. It's going to be on September 21st, and it's peaking at 3:54 p.m. EST, and it's activating that Zava Java. So again, both the sun and moon are here, and it is that sign that's associated with warnings of like real danger. So, that can be like a gut instinct, it can be foreshadowing, it can be sirens. So pay attention to anything that kind of feels off. And I think that's also, very much ties into the whole notion of what you are consuming through the Virgo energy because, you can't trust your gut if you're just eating a bunch of trash. So the cleaner the gut, the more you can actually trust
Hmm.
the intuitive body through the gut brain axis. So, I think that's going to be very, very important. And again, like I said, this also has the imprint of necessary control mechanisms for certain periods of time when there are very real danger. So, if a certain person or even parts of ourselves cannot be contained, it places them within a containment so it can later be safely released back to sort of greater society or into totality. So, a real world example is if a dog is constantly triggered, whether through abuse or whatever it may be, and is constantly attacking people, other animals, killing animals, whatever it may be, like you have to put that dog in a cage until it can calm down, until you find a trainer that can help it, lower its prey drive and, um, bring it back into general society so it can get the love that it deserves, like every dog does. So the star is associated with people who can be a harm to themselves or a harm to others. And very, a current world type energy can be jails or other type of containment systems. And again, it is that star associated with sort of distorted urges, can be trauma-induced urges, and also again protecting it's very protective against that energy, but it does signal the very real danger when it is actually there. And again, this is also the star of the administrative work of the current legal system, filings, paperwork, documents, legal proceedings, declarations, all that sort of stuff. Um, and it is conjunct Mercury that is at Zanaya. So again, we have this star being highlighted once again during this eclipse. And again, it's associated with Well, it has a lot of very distorted feminine energy that exploits things in order to get what they want, especially money and information. So again, it's in terms of the legal realm, it's connected to all of those, covert operations and espionage and spies and things like that, deals done under the table, behind doors, things that are not generally accessible through reading documentations. So that will be very interesting with Mercury there because, Mercury's at home in Virgo, and that's where we get that to the extreme, that neurotic energy of Virgo that really wants order, cleanliness, organization, things to be done the right way or perceived as correct way or the way things should be. That Virgo can get at the extreme. But again, that sort of back alley way of doing things, of breaking the law to maintain the law. Um, so be very mindful during the eclipse of that type of energy. Another example would be, um, like, oh, people can't behave, so everybody needs to be surveyed, and that distorted belief system, which simply is not true. Like, there's no reason for everybody to be treated like criminals just because some criminals actually exist.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see those kind of distortions coming through there. And with Mercury, there can be a lot of information that's coming out in regards to that, of like, and again, a lot of it has to do with legal stuff that's going on. So, and illegal things that are going on, of like, why is this happening when people have not broken the law are being treated as though we are, as though we're criminals? Like, like your phone data being harvested, which is a legal search and seizure when you never did anything incorrect. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of what's going on at this time. And then this energy is opposing Neptune and Saturn, which are both retrograding. And it's in like the Pisces Cetus void area. It's below the ecliptic. So even though technically it's like Pisces, I still consider it in the Pisces Cetus void. So this kind of necessitates the balance between this Virgo energy, and then the restrictions that come through Saturn and, spiritual principles of Neptune. And within the lens of Pisces, which sort of facilitates that spiritual alignment, and the Cetus energy, which is kind of the underbelly of what's going on and like past life, multi-lifetime issues that need resolving.
Mm. Mm. There's so much. There's so much to say. I'm almost speechless. I think this is a very, very interesting and profound eclipse to be occurring like right before the equinox. If there's ever been a time for like mass, ceremony or ritual, absolutely. And I also think that can be in a positive lens, like the energy can very much be harvested for good, for health, right? That is what Virgo is here for. Is it healthy? And I think it's very interesting. Like every time you've mentioned toxic load, I'm like, oh, the toxic load is like self-inflicted. Like often the most toxic load in our lives is the way that we are speaking to and thinking about ourselves. And it really is a moment of like, okay, let's start new. Let's have a new experience of how we relate to ourselves, our grace that we give ourselves. And I also very much think, especially with all the digestion stuff that was coming on, and also with the sun and moon being in the throat of Virgo, what is being like swallowed and taken in. Um, I just think RFK is going to be on his shit. Like, I really do.
I was just thinking about that. Like a higher vibe thing could be like banning legally, like, or officially, I guess, like banning dyes, for
Yeah,
example.
that's all I keep
And
thinking
the
in bed.
backlash could be
Red
like, oh, well,
40 is
it's my
gone.
right. It's my right to consume this, but it's like actually for the greater good, let's make it illegal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And I also think that what will start to occur is there needs to be a balance of like, I don't know, it's such a wild plate time we live in. Eh, everything is a spectrum, like it's not just black and white. But like something with like red 40, it's like literally there's no point. Like we really don't need that. Whereas in something like the legalization of drugs and like how rampant, especially here in Canada, like how rampant free like drug use areas are and how
Hmm.
much danger and damage that they're creating.
Wow, I did
Um,
not know that.
oh yeah, like
Like like
safe
hard drugs,
injection
like
sites.
heroin. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
goodness. Wow.
Yeah. There's
That's
like safe
intense.
injection sites. Like literally the government like gives people endless free drugs and they call it safety. And
That's
so many people, it's
wild.
like the narrative is like, oh, if you're against safe injection sites, you are for people dying of overdose. And it's just so extreme and black and white. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And it's interesting to be like, yeah, addiction is fine and tax money going towards it's not saying like addiction is fine, but it's enabling
It
behavior
is.
essentially.
Absolutely.
Um, with the mask of like virtue. And I think what's very interesting, especially with the Saturn Neptune, is like, oh, okay, like this addiction culture that we have, and what is an okay addiction and what isn't an okay addiction. Like,
Hmm.
there's going to be more clarity, more information, more common sense, more grounded, tangible shifts that we can do in our lives and the lives of the collective as a whole to really to bring about more health in the collective. And I feel like sometimes it will be kind of extreme. Um, and I think it's a very important conversation to be having. Um,
Absolutely.
especially, yeah, right?
I,
Like it,
I think that's such a great point too about like what addiction is sort of socially acceptable, especially because all of that addiction energy comes through Pisces and even through Cetus as well.
mhm,
Um, and I just read this post. I don't remember who it was by, some doctor, like a very like nutritional minded doctor who said something along the lines of our ancestors have been eating, eggs, butter, red meat, and bread, for thousands of years. Processed food has only been around for around about 100 years. We've had all these health issues pop up within the last 100 years, but for some reason they're trying to get everyone to stop eating eggs, butter, red meat, bread. And granted, obviously there is the very real reality of like now we have industrial farm eggs from completely abused chickens. These cows are being abused and pumped with God knows what. And, all of that. But, obviously, if you're sourcing your stuff well, then it's generally safe to eat. But that is what it kind of reminded me of like, okay, having an addiction to all this processed food is socially acceptable. But, if you're addicted to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good addiction. I guess self-improvement or cleaning up your
mhm,
diet or whatever. You're seeing kind of like a whack job of like, oh, I only eat organic, raw or whatever, or even people who are vegan and things like that, really cleaning up their diet in that way, they're considered freaks.
mhm, mhm. It's very interesting. Like I honestly think that I keep on having this moment of considering that like this is an eclipse season where collectively we start to see things that in the future will be very, very evident and obvious and like, oh my gosh, can you believe that? Like you got like I can't wait until people are like, you guys used to have wars? Like how
I
deep
know.
barbaric and insane is that? Like that is my deepest prayer and like mission. And Pluto Virgo, I mean Pluto Libra Sun, I'm like, that is my mission on earth is like to witness like a day, like at least one day of my life where there is peace on earth. Like you know
Hmm.
that is the ultimate mission. And to get there, there does need to be this exposure, this uncomfortable truth that is shown so that we can make healthier choices. And it's not like, okay, now we're at this extreme. It's like taking the steps and also like there's such a strong conversation around like economics because I know for myself, like I'm on mat leave right now. I'm not really working that much. Most people can't book in readings with me at the moment. They can buy my courses, which is amazing. But it's not the same as like when I was just doing one-on-one work. Like my business is shifting a lot. And I know that a lot of people are very much suffering financially just with inflation and the cost of living. And it's like to choose these healthier choices is an insane like cost. And so there's this like sense of like not being able to win. But I feel like this eclipse season is going to give people this like sense of clarity of like, oh, if I want to lead my life and feel healthy and feel empowered and actually give myself a chance at having joy and happiness and health, like I have to do something and think about it in a measured, tangible way, right? Which is the way of Virgo, and have with immense compassion and grace, which is the Piscean protocol as well. So yeah, I think it's just so interesting. It really feels like the beginning of a new time.
I totally agree. And I think you made such a great point of people who kind of are in that impasse of, oh, okay, if I make something, a better choice for myself, it can have a financial impact to their detriment, sort of thing. But that's where
Mhm.
that Saturn energy comes in of like, are your choices aligning with your long-term goals of who you want to be
Mhm.
long-term?
Mhm.
And especially with Neptune there as well, for your own spiritual alignment. Like if you know you should be making the healthier option, but you're not making that choice because of your lack mentality of thinking that you're not going to have enough money for something else, then you're already making a choice for your future self that you'll be less healthy and you're reinstalling a lack belief system too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, it really is all about those long-term things because these choices that you're making are for the long-term, your long-term health. Because if you're not paying the potential higher financial costs on the forefront, you're going to pay with it with your health long term. And that's
Mhm.
always something that I let people know when they say like, "Oh, getting this is too expensive." It's like, well, your healthcare down the line it might be more expensive. So you kind of pick one or the other. It's that delayed gratification energy of Saturn, but the opposite way.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I just think it's, more and more people, I think their soul is going to be kind of yelling to an extent of like, just do the healthier thing. It's kind of like,
Mhm.
you will always have money. You will always have more than enough. Like everyone is abundant and just got to tap into that. Um, and
Mhm.
that's a whole nother energy thing I think that the collective is going to be going through is sort of how the economic systems, the monetary systems and all of that and how it's being siphoned from the masses to make them, stuck in kind of poverty mindsets. So I'm excited for that program to be deleted as well.
Mhm. Well, something that you just mentioned is I'm like, oh, I actually feel it's an injustice. And something that could really be coming up from this is like, it is an injustice that the healthier choice is the more expensive choice. Like, it should be effortless to live well, right? Especially because it takes like lifestyle choices or changes. I'm like, oh, I actually feel like there's an inversion there. And like, the more, like, that is such a wild inversion that that is the truth. And I
I think
feel like,
sometimes it's the truth. Like I
yeah.
definitely had that belief system when I started out. But as time has progressed, like for example, I'll go to like a designer store and there will be like a $700 piece of clothing and it's made of polyester. It's made of plastic. Like it probably costs less than $1 to make
Hmm.
and they're charging over $700 for it. Whereas, I can go to TJ Maxx and find something 100% organic cotton for 17.99.
Hmm.
So it really depends on what it is. And even food sometimes, like,
Hmm.
if you're at the supermarket, you know, it can be kind of hit or miss. But if you buy mostly or like not protein, mostly produce as opposed to like the chip aisle, it's going to be less expensive. It might not be what is like, your taste buds are craving for necessarily, but I
Make your own.
find, yeah, I mean, buying organic produce versus regular produce is more expensive. But
Hmm.
the least expensive is to just toss some seeds in the ground and let the earth constantly just kind of do it for
Provide.
you. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Just make sure the seeds aren't genetically modified to not make sure they're viable seeds year after year. Get some heirloom heritage seeds.
I think what's really interesting about this is like it's already been happening in pockets where people are growing their own food and choosing organic and finding like a way to live healthier in a way that's very sustainable in their life, right? Like that is what Virgo cares about is can this actually be like I think all our signs do, but like Virgo is like, I want something that's going to actually be practical so you can do it every day, right? So it can become a
Mhm.
routine. And I think what's really interesting is like one, people will have like this new knowledge. It's like, oh my gosh, if I don't spend this money now, I'm going to spend more later, like having to heal myself or, you know, have medical bills, etc. And I just think it's so fascinating to think about like where can, like what can we do personally in our own lives, like growing a garden and like, you know, shifting society so that it is more accessible. And of course, like I think quality and like, you know, some artisanal cheese and things from like in France, like, oh yes, like pay for that quality. But in general, everyone should be able to access like healthy organic food because food is the first medicine in in a way that's like very affordable, right? I know that for myself, like the main issues that I have with all the like preservatives and all the toxins in food is that it's the cheaper choice. So it's like effortless to make that choice again and again, right? It's like giving people free drugs.
Yeah. Well, it's effortless for people who want to always choose the cheapest option. And so there's
Yeah.
definitely that mindset shift that can occur through like Jupiter energy of like shifting to make you believe that you don't always have to choose or you're only worthy of the cheapest option. So there's definitely
Hmm.
some more shadow programs for people who are going through that kind of inner dialogue about their food choices for sure.
Yes.
Um, and that's why, which we'll talk a little bit about when we get to like Uranus. Um, a lot of people are going to be getting together based on sort of Pleiadian stuff that's happening since Uranus has been acting Pleiades, which are, Earth guardian type stuff. So,
Hmm.
if like community gardens and things like that, like, yes, it takes a little bit of work, a little bit of, forethought and effort. Um, but that's what's necessary to make any type of change. So, everybody has to be willing to challenge the status quo just a little bit to make their life a little bit better. And I mean, the easiest way is to just have a garden or find,
Yeah.
go to a farmer's market or, sign up for some of these. I forget what it's called, but it's like the ugly food
Hmm.
that you
Hmm.
get. And it's like, it's cheaper than the supermarkets, or I should say, it's less expensive than the supermarket. And it's delivered to your door and it's fresh. There are always solutions that can be cost effective.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I agree, it absolutely should be available and unhealthy, like unhealthy food and stuff, those should be the black market items. Like that should be kind of what's the underbelly of society of like finding the dude who deals the Twinkies if that's what you want.
I got my Twinkie
Uh,
dealer.
yeah. I mean, obviously, free will and choice is so important, but when people are making these choices to their detriment without having the education to understand what it's really doing to themselves or
Mhm.
refined sugars, a lot of these processed foods like are made to get you addicted. They put ingredients that are just known to be addictive. So
Yep.
it's the ethics of that is really 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 not okay.
Mhm. Mm. I think this is such a fascinating conversation, and
Yeah,
it's like this is why the sky is so fascinating to me is because
yeah,
it takes us into these like deep contemplations about life and existence that we might not have given as much energy to.
I totally totally agree. Okay, let's take a move to Mercury. So Mercury is currently exiting the Cancerian star system, moving into the Leo star system. It is going to be moving through Leo. It activates Regulus around the first through the second, maybe a little bit, plus or minus a day each time. Mercury continues its journey through Leo, again, meeting up with that conjunction with the sun around the time that it's activating Sigma Leonis there. Ooh, which is on 9/11. Oh, wow. Okay. So some 911 codes coming through Sun and Mercury. moving through, it will be activating Zavajava around the 15th, peaking 16th to the 17th, moving, activating Zanaya 19th, 20th, 21st, and moving, activating Porma of Virgo around the 23rd, 24th, maybe even to the 25th, and continuing its movement through Virgo. And okay, well, it's already a month, but continues into October through Virgo. So, oops. So thoughts on Mercury leaving Cancer and moving into Leo and moving all through Leo and then through Virgo?
Mm. I feel like it's almost like a reiteration of what we've already been speaking about, but it's like, okay, now it's time to really be big and bold and honest, mostly with yourself. Like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
saying to yourself about yourself? Everything you were saying about, yes, that's a frustrating reality, but this is another reality. Here's another perspective. There's always optimism and a different, like, there's always solutions, right? And with Mercury being such a problem solver, it's like, okay, how can I problem solve to be my most empowered self, to support my inner child, to support my leadership, to do what I can for my family, my community, and the world and the collective. And, I think Mercury in Cancer personally has been a very immense time to witness and become aware of the ways that we think and talk about ourselves and life that isn't supportive. And it moving into Leo is like, okay, this like it's going into the crucible. It's got to burn, it's got to change, it's got to transform. And also it's just a very powerful time for anyone that really feels like they have a message for the world. And it's time to start recording the music, writing the book, doing the podcast, getting out there, writing the content. Like, do it, like, do the thing, say it. And once it's into Virgo, I think it's very interesting, those two alignments with those like legal related stars. I think it's very, it's like it's like a new system of like, this is the new law for me. This is my new, coaches always say, like, this is your new standard. This is the new benchmark in your life. And then you make it into a routine and a discipline. It's almost like Leo is like, I'm doing this new thing. And then Virgo is like, and that's my lifestyle now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally a great way to say it, especially because when we have this uh, activation of Regulus by Mercury, it's going to be stimulating all of that Regulus stuff that we already talked about. But, this is when the throat chakra is going to be heavily activated by Mercury at Regulus. And it's going to, of course, be stimulating that royal DNA and causing those people to roar. Like their voices will be heard. So I love that you got that too. And exactly like what you said, like it's time to make that music, write the book, all of that. And that is totally supported when Mercury is at Sigma Leonis, which again is that extreme heat. It's using that firepower to take those actions in order to accomplish whatever it is. So when Mercury's there, again, it's like using your voice to do it, using your writings to do it, using your mindset, exactly as Sonia said, like your inner script to be making sure that that is fueling your fire in the right way and not reinstilling any sort of downtrodden belief or limiting belief system. And then, of course, we have Mercury going to be activating Zavajava. So again, that's that star of those warning signs and signals and things. So around this time, be very mindful about like what you're hearing, what's being said. Pay attention to what the words are actually being said, like not what you think, not what you feel or anything. Like what is the blatant thing that is being communicated through these words. And Zavajava is also known for being very sharp, so communication is bound to be quite sharp at this time. And then, of course, we have Mercury activating Zanaya, which again is all that like backdoor type stuff. So pay attention to, maybe some people who might try to get information in sort of a roundabout way or a backdoor way, or being very manipulative through communication in order to obtain some type of information, either from you or from somebody else. So just be very mindful. But then I guess on the other side, if you want to find something out from someone, that's a great way to do it. That's a great day to do it, I should say. Not that I support that behavior, but sometimes you got to be a super sleuth. I totally understand. And then we have Mercury that is going to be activating Porama around the 23rd, 24th, 25th. And so this star is known for its prophetic abilities. So pay attention to your psychic foresight at that time, and the information that you might be receiving. And that star is also associated with the occult and sort of like the psychic witchy side of Virgo, which doesn't get talked about that often. But, Virgo is known for being so in tune with nature and, knowing what herbs and things to use. And it's like, just as Sonia said, like food is the first medicine, it's also the first ritual. It's also the first kind of spell that you do of like what intention, what are you thinking about as you're preparing your food? Like what energy are you putting into it? What are your thoughts and emotions and connection to those ingredients that are so, so important? Um, so this star is associated with that more like witchy occult side of Virgo. And it's very interesting because natives who have this activated in their chart, usually their psychic abilities or like their clairs are fully turned on after they give birth. So there is energy of this star that is associated with the divinity of procreation and how that process can literally heighten and activate your psychic senses. So it's very interesting. And kind of even what we were just talking about, Sonia, in terms of like some people who have kind of more of a lack mentality and things like that. This star is connected to material wealth in the terms of the way that feminine energy or women hold themselves in certain esteem and self-worth is fully reflected of the physical, monetary, and just material abundance in general that will be in their reality. So this star, the darker side of this star, the shadow side, is someone with no self-worth will always be poor. So if anyone's trying to shift that narrative, this is a really, really great time to do it whenever you have an activation at Porma. And with Mercury there, it's really great to be, again, rewiring your brain, saying different mantras in order to make that your new reality.
Birthing wealthy mothers. And that's like, if you're a little mother, a very powerful time for that, but also like just to mother yourself with a mindset of wealth that life loves you, like it's just getting better. And my favorite side of Virgo is her witchy earth goddess energy. Like she is all forms of the feminine. She is the feminine in the sky. Um, it, and that's so powerful. Like I'm actually so grateful that this is a powerful activation. Like what a blessing that we get to have this, especially after these big realizations from like less than a week before. You're having all these realizations like, oh, things have to change. I have to take care of myself better. And I need more money in order to do that. Or I need the money to make the changes or to get the mentors or the food or whatever to move where where you actually want to live and to have the lifestyle that is healthiest for you. And this is like, okay, first that starts with your mind. Like first it starts with the belief that that can happen and that it will happen and that it's inevitable. And yeah, it's like abundance affirmations are your best friend. And this is so fun for me because it's literally like right before I get married.
Ah,
I'm
uh-huh.
gonna be on that abundance train. It's gonna be great.
Awesome. And speaking of marriage, let's shift over to Venus and see
Mm.
what she's going to be doing over this next month. The planet of love. So we have Venus that is in Cancer. It's going to be moving through Cancer, activating the beehive cluster here around Yeah, like the 29th, 30th, 31st, it's going to be activating Acellus Australis around the 30th or 31st, peaking on the 1st, September 1st, into the 2nd. And then we'll be moving out of the Cancerian star system, moving through the Cancer Leo void, moving into Leo. It will be activating Royal Star Regulus around 18th to the 19th. And then we'll continue to move through Leo for the rest of the month. So I'm curious on your thoughts of Venus, especially during this very romantic time for you, of Venus moving through the Cancer and Leo star systems.
Well, again, this being a personal planet, I would urge everyone to look at where all of these placements are in your own chart to really see how they personally impact you. And especially with Venus, like how it's impacting your love of life and your love life will be different. I specifically chose to get married when Venus was in Leo. That's what I
Awesome.
chose to do. Um,
Legacy vibes.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
also like that level of commitment, that level of
Mhm.
love, that level of passion. And it's also like we're standing in front of people. It's like we're being bold. We're being courageous to have this level of it's a courageous commitment to become married. And I think first, collectively we're moving through like the sensitivity. Perhaps there's a collective energy of needing to repair or heal past wounds in love as it moves through cancers. I think the beehive cluster is very interesting. I did very, very fascinating like dream oracle work with Stella Portia, like a fellow, she is an astrologer, but she mostly teaches about the bees, about dream work, about dream oracle. And the beehive cluster is a very profound like place in space. And it's especially with bees, like they're so feminine, like all of the worker bees are maidens and the queen bee and how like matriarchal of a system the bees are and how of service they are. I think it's very interesting to relate to and reconnect with like women in your life if you are a woman or just in general, um to feel like that love of like feminine community during the end of this month. I feel like it's just going to really give you some honey, some richness. And then and just know that it's okay. Like it's safe for you to heal the pain in your heart and to feel that level of sensitivity. And I heard this really profound coach speak about this, and his name is Joe. What is his last name? Oh, he's on YouTube. He's really great. I feel like it's Joe Hudson, but I might be completely misnaming him. And he talks about how fights in couples are actually a really sacred time to see what is triggering and what is healing. Like fights are an opportunity for healing, which is how I feel about squares. It's like, oh, it's conflict that's necessary so that we can move to a new perspective and a new dimension, even. And this time period of Venus being in Cancer and then being integrated through like the cusp space and then embodied in Leo, it's like, okay, like you can heal past wounds or even like past life pain or even collective pain within the feminine, especially with the beehive cluster and within your mother line, so that you can have healthy, holy, love, sexy, like let's get married and show the world and dance, like kind of love energy, right? And Venus and Leo is just like, this is who I am and I'm so loved. Like it's such deep, profound self-love, but also very profound love. Like, oftentimes in relationships, it's so easy to play the victim and be like, this is how someone's not loving me, right? But it's like, how right are you loving them? Like, how much connection are you creating in your relationships and how much disconnection are you fostering through the experiences that you have, usually triggered through your own trauma? Like it's not even that person's fault or and so it's just, it feels like a very powerful time for healing and then up leveling and with love leading the way. And I am all for that. I mean, Libras love it.
Absolutely. I totally, totally agree. And yeah, what you said is so beautiful about when Venus is going to be around the beehive cluster because beehive cluster is very matriarchal. They're a matriarchal society. And something I find very interesting is the drones that they don't let back in the hive every single year are the males. So they birth males every single season. However, I have a couple beekeeper friends, and a couple years they told me that some hives are actually letting some of them come in and stay because their populations are collapsing. So they're recognizing the necessity of kind of even changing what they've done for so long for the good of the hive. And I think that's very much that matriarchal
Mhm.
energy of like, okay, for our own protection and to make sure that we survive, kind of energy, or thrive, I should say, to survive and thrive, that they need to keep some of the males around. And again, it's not all of them, but just some observed phenomena that I would like to share in that regard. But absolutely. And when this is happening, it's major, major divine feminine activations, yin polarity activations in terms of the energetics personally and the collective. And it will be stimulating this hive mind, again, in terms of love and personal relationships, and also luxury and leisure, is Venus. That's where all those luxury codes come from, is Venus. And so like groupings and hives that are forming are going to be based on these different Venusian themes and codes. And then also people who are Venusian dominant individuals, whether in their chart or they just work with Venus heavily, those queen bees are going to be rising at this time. So I'm really excited to see that. And then we have the activation of Ascellus australis in Cancer, which is associated more with the domestic side of Cancer. So it's connected to a lot of domestic duties and comfort of home and being cozy and that kind of energy that Cancer is associated with, as well as how our emotions influence the weather. So this is a great start to work with if you're trying to shut down like DARPA and HARP and that kind of stuff, or if you want to have a certain type of day, noticing how the emotions of you or the emotions of, the people around you, how it influences the weather. Like, for example, we've been in such a heat wave here, but now that there's like the back to school thing and, all the Halloween decorations are out, the collective has just now started kind of already thinking of autumn so much in their mind, even though we're in the middle of Leo season. It's usually very hot right now, but it's gotten very, very cool. And I've noticed, okay, it's because a lot of these people I'm being around, how their emotions are being influenced by pumpkin spice latte and all that sort of stuff. So, around this time, pay attention to how your emotions through Venusian energy of, how you're feeling about love and your personal relationships and things of that nature, how it's influencing the weather. And this star is also associated with being able to pick up on energy of the past, being able to view the past. So natives who have this can often remote view into the past. They can
Mhm.
have visions of things that happened to the past. They have gifts where they can like touch an object and see the history of what has happened to that object. So this has
Mhm.
some very special psychic energy that comes through Cancer, and it's also the ability to see ghosts as well. People who have this are like activated in their chart, usually have met a ghost, seen a ghost, have a penchant for ghosts, um, being able to connect to the departed in some sort of way. And it's also associated with like super heavy, the emotional heavy burdens that a soul can carry that causes it to be a ghost in the first place. So it's usually a pretty great checkpoint emotionally. Like if you have such an emotional heavy burden that you that is going to stop you from transitioning peacefully, that theme can usually come up during this time. So, um, I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly what you said, Sonia, but I remember you said something about like people from the past coming in or some sort of assessment of like what needs to be let go or forgiveness or something. Like that is this star. Like ghosts of your past can come up, and it's really time to let it go to make sure that you're not holding these emotional burdens that would cause, energetic fragmentation of you, to make sure that you don't become a ghost. And it's so funny because I had bought tickets to see Teresa Caputo. I'm not sure if you know who that is, the Long Island medium.
Oh my gosh,
And
that is so weird. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was literally thinking about buying tickets.
do it. There's your sign. There's your sign. The bigger the hair, the closer to God. I
Oh
love
my
her.
gosh. The
I
only impersonation I can do is of Teresa Caputo.
oh oh my gosh, you want to do it? I'm so ready
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, she's got the hairspray, and you can't come around her while she's doing her revelations because it might take a couple years off your life.
That is so good. Oh my God. That is so good. I didn't even know who she was until like maybe 2 years ago. And then I binged like her whole show. I'm just like crying, absolutely loving it. She came nearby and I bought tickets like months in advance. And then I found out that the sun was at Acellus Australis on the day that I saw her. I was like, there's a departed coming through.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really wild. I was like, okay, okay. And I matched with some like guy on a dating app who started talking like, oh, I'm making a movie about like ghosts and this and that. I was like, okay, well, I'm glad the ghost energy is coming in that way. Not like any of my own, I guess. Hopefully they hopefully I've ghost busted them.
Guild. That is so interesting.
I just love the way like things materialize. That's what I love about the details of the energy of the stars is like you can really like you don't have to go out of your way to really do things most of the time in terms of figuring out how aligned you are because things will just naturally occur where you're like, "Oh, this is how it's happening in my life." Like I'm on the high vibe end or more the neutral end or like shit, I'm in the shadow end of this star. Ugh. So,
Shit, I'm in the
yeah.
shadow. Oh
The sh
shit.
the shadow, the SHATOW. All right, yeah.
It's funny.
But definitely get those Teresa Caputo tickets. I think that's the sign. It was a really great show. I've seen her twice. I saw her once, actually on my birthday. She was in a city nearby. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's the only sign I need. And I was like connecting with my grandfather. I was like, grandfather, and she was like reading someone else. And I kept like talking to my grandpa. I was like, grandfather, I know you are so pushy. Just like give her a nudge and tell her to say happy birthday. And she's like, wait a minute, whose birthday is it? I was like, oh my God. And me and the girl right behind me, we both had the same birthday. So it was
Whoa,
like crazy. Yeah. But then she kept reading who she was reading. But I was like, okay, thanks, grandfather. That was good. That was good enough for me.
that's epic.
um, yeah, it really was. Okay, so then we have, yes, Venus continuing again. Venus is going to be activating Royal Star Regulus around the 18th, 19th. That's when it's going to be peaking, but you'll probably feel that energy, um, you know, plus or minus a day. Um, And again, it's going to be like big heart chakra things. Obviously, Venus at Regulus, there's a lot of, it feels like this is a really great time for power couples or anyone involved in like Venusian-based endeavors or businesses or heart-led businesses or anything of that nature. It's also a really great time for, the royalty aspect of it, plus the luxury and leisure aspect of it can really materialize in such beautiful, beautiful ways. Um, I don't want to put any restrictions on what the energy can be, but I know it's going to be big and beautiful for sure.
Mm.
And I will also say, like, during this time, while it's, going through, we're also going to be having a lot of um, activations in the Hydra
Mhm.
constellation as well. And Hydra I associate very much with Venus. And we are going to be having the activation of Aslesha, which is Epsilon Hydra, and then Zeta Hydra, which is Hydrobius. Um, on the Epsilon Hydra is happening on the 5th. Zeta is happening, or Hydropius is happening on the 6th.
Looks like a sparkly snake. I'm obsessed.
It is, yeah. It's like the water snake. And
Hmm.
then on the 17th, it's going to be aligned with Alphard. So Hydra stuff that comes through, usually the codes in general definitely can be sacred sexuality. It can cause Kundalini activations and things of that nature, or however you want to describe that type of energy flow. It also helps us identify any issues that have not been identified at the core or the root of it. So it's like if you notice that you're having some sort of problem and the problem keeps popping up over and over again, um, and even more, like it's happening more frequently, more often. The problem is usually a Hydra program that is running. And it's kind of like the energy, like if you cut the head off, are more heads growing back? So it's connected to the fungal network as well. So that's kind of how it functions.
Mm,
Um, and so when Venus is aligned with Eslesha here, there's a lot of sexual energy that comes through that. This star is extremely sexual. It has like no inhibitions, and it can typically be associated with like a homecoming. So alignments through there, through like Cancer energy, can be very homey, and can be that going back to the familiar that feels like home.
mm,
Hydrobius is more associated with the things that dwell in our water. So these are things that are more on the subconscious or unconscious type energy. Um, and if you notice things that are popping up in your life at this time that have that Hydra effect, that like fungal network energy, if it's popping up during this activation or this alignment, then you know it's emotional based. Then you know it's like the water program that's running. So it's a really great time to purify your emotional body and sort of adjust your emotional body in order to resolve whatever it is. Um, and this star is also associated with beetle spirit, so it has connections to metamorphosis and regeneration, and kind of has like Scorpio energy to it in that regard. And then Alphard, when it's happening on the 17th, right before Venus starts activating Regulus, is the heart of the snake. So we have like two heart codes coming, bing, bang, boom, like not, I guess, bing, bang, right next to each other. And Alphard is connected to the energetic sort of Ankh energy. So when you're able to loop energy or loop Kundalini from the heart to the crown and back, so that you can just keep looping it in order to do whatever it is you're trying to do. But this star is known for very solitary type energy and lessons that you have to learn on your own by yourself. And all the distortions of snake spirit come through here. So, you know, that the deep snake spirit medicine that can be found, um, or just like medicine in general that can be found in areas that are highly demonized by others, kind of like how snake gets a reputation for being evil or the devil or all that nonsense. So it does have a lot of connection to the mystical and occult and sacred knowledge. So even people who have like this aligned in their chart, even though Leo isn't necessarily the sign you'd associate with, you know, occult or mystic or, you know, anything like that, if you have this alignment, you're definitely more on that side, even though it's Leo.
sounds sexy.
It is. I
Sounds
always like
sexy.
talking about Hydra with Venus just because like they're more connected.
Yeah, it feels all of that you just talked about. If anyone is interested, go check out Stella Portia and her work. Like she literally just did a dream course called like the scales of like wings and serpents, all about the bees and the serpents and dream time and feminine goddess culture that has been like occulted and forgotten. And um, I want to say like patriarchy suppressed. Very like it feels like that is the collective, that course that she did is really the collective reawakening that we're all moving through. And, I just want to say, because I'm a Swiftie, I'm a big fan. Um, Taylor just got, or she announced her engagement which is very profound. And I think because she sings about love so much, it's a very powerful time, like having her being with the man that she wants to marry, like, political opinions aside and other opinions as well. Um, it's a very profound like awakening of love and the potential of love. And to have someone go from like I'm not sure if you're a Swiftie, but from like singing the prophecy of like, you know, I don't want money. I just want someone who wants to be in my company. Like that's one of the lyrics.
Hmm.
Like, I don't like, I'll give it all up if I can just find someone who loves me. And like just the pain and the torture truly that she is like expressed through her love life. And then the fact that she has like now this beautiful, commitment ceremony coming forth, and that she is an Ophiuchus queen. Like she is the one who heals through music, and the snake is like one of her core symbols. I just think it's so powerful. Like I just think it's very, very immense, collectively, like what that symbolically will do for people in terms of believing in love again.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I've never lost my belief in love whatsoever. And I don't know anything about Taylor Swift's anthology other than songs I've heard on the radio. But I hope she doesn't have to sacrifice any of her money or her wealth for love. That seems like
No,
an
she is
unnecessary
not.
juxtaposition. So hopefully that proclamation doesn't come true for her. I would really hope not. Because that's the thing. You can have someone who loves you and they can have a lot of money and you can have a lot of money. Um,
Oh, she's
but
thriving. She's just making
good,
more
good.
money.
I,
She's in
yeah,
love and making more money.
yeah,
Um,
I definitely hope her music, turns into romance music and things like that. From what I know, it's mostly kind of bashing lovers and explaining how she was mistreated. And I think that's very beautiful to turn that into music. Um, but for me, like, I don't like heartbreak, so I don't listen to music about heartbreak. Like that's
mhm,
kind of where I'm at. Of like I only listen to things that I want or things that I have and I'm satisfied with. So I'm like very, very selective about anything I put in
mm,
my brain. So I don't know much about it, but I really hope that her new sound codes that come through are good for women to manifest true love and money.
mm, mhm. That's what I'm most excited for. I mean, she's had lover eras for sure. But I think it'll be very powerful because so many people listen to her, for her to have like this very
Hmm.
positive romantic experience will be very immense.
Oh yeah, I saw the milk experiment that she did or something, and how it it was successful. So, or was it eggs or milk? I can't remember. It was like she said to bring down the price of milk or bring down the price of eggs, and then so many things happened and the price went down by a certain margin, like statistically significant. So yeah, she definitely has a, big global impact even economically. So
Mhm.
yeah, I know nothing about her, but I'm excited if it has a positive impact. But the person that you were talking about before on that the class or activation, whatever you were talking about with the beehive and the snake spirit, email that to me and I'll drop it in the YouTube below. Anyone listening, if you're interested in that, I'll link it there so you can get your um, Divine Feminine Venusian activations for this month. That sounds
Absolutely.
like super awesome and very significant that, yeah, the bees and the snakes are here.
Hmm.
Alrighty. So we have Mars in Virgo activating Porma, kind of finishing up its activation. Moving through Virgo is going to be activating Spica around the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. It's pretty much just a Spica activation time, and then we'll continue for the rest of the month through Virgo. So we have a very Mars Virgo month. Sonia, your thoughts on Mars and Virgo?
Mm. I I love a Mars and Earth sign because it's actually like things are gonna get done.
Yeah.
Right, like Mars is about getting things done. And again, I feel like this whole conversation is like a victory of health and of feminine health. And I feel like some of the laws that might be changing is like has to do with, you know, it could be reproduction rights. It could just be like rights of mothers. One of my friends who's a human design reader, she's pregnant right now, and she's like, now that I'm pregnant, I'm very aware of how weird it is that women aren't immediately given like at least a year being paid by the government to take care of children. And if they choose to full-time take care of their children, that they should be really taken care of themselves because it is the greatest work on the planet. Like it's literally that's how we end war. We raise healthy children, right? Like who don't want to
Exactly.
kill people for
Yes.
profit.
Yes.
And so it feels
Who
like the
aren't so poor that they have to go, that they feel that that's their only choice, kind of like the health decision. You know, if
exactly.
they feel like the only way they can get educated is if they go to war.
Yeah, in the military, etc. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's very much taking actions that are healthy and that are aligned. And harvest season is coming, autumn equinox in the north is all about the harvest and being thankful for the earth and what she provides. And it's getting feeling that way about our bodies as well. Like um it really does feel like a very profound time to take really strong action towards health, vitality, fertility, being able to have health so that you can be a good parent, so that you can be a good leader, so that you can feel good about yourself. And that includes your mental health and how you speak to yourself. Um, yeah, it feels very powerful. And also, if you're trying to make anything happen, it's like, oh, the actual, tangible, real, sustainable actions that will create something new into reality and sustain it there is what's actually able to occur during this time, right? It's not just like daydreaming visionary time. It's like, okay, let's do this and let's do it again and then let's fix it and let's analyze it and let's make it better and let's do it again and now it's a part of like it's a habit forming that's very healthy and abundant.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, with Mars activating Porma here, I talked a lot about the kind of procreation and the prophetic side of Porma, but it's also known as the star of the hero. And so I definitely feel that energy coming in through Mars. So the masculine or the young polarity there is going to have major stimulation to step up and be that hero of some sort, likely to protect the sacredness of the feminine in general. And again, it is really connected to that procreation energy that we talked about. So I love that you are getting those transmissions too about, women's rights, reproductive rights, and all that sort of thing. Because, you know, even if we can't expect the government to give us these year-long break or two, well, not even a break, year-long holding that space for a woman to give birth. At least I would say like 2, 3 years until the child can talk and accurately describe how other adults are interacting with them. My personal belief, I think the mother should be there. Like, obviously, she'll be there through the whole pregnancy. And so, like, in my belief system, it should be the husband and the father that is providing that, not the government. So
Hmm.
that's another thing of the energy of low self-worth that can come through of women, expecting nothing from a man and then getting nothing. And then she's in that position where she's, you know, not getting what she needs, not being protected in the way that is good for her body and her health. So I think a lot of the energy comes through Porama in that way. And with Mars there, it really feels like the masculine energy in general is really going to be stepping up.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we have Mars acting this Theta Virginis that's happening like second, third, fourth, I would say is probably the peak of it. And this star is actually associated with eating for your blood type. So it's the notion that it's not a one size fits all of like what is the best for you, and that some people, depending on your blood type and also your ancestry and different things like that, of eating what is good for your specific body type. So that can be certain like fruits and vegetables, different meats and things that are either inflammatory, neutral, or actually healthy and inflammatory for your body. So kind of looking at food around this time, especially because Mars is there, which is that planet of action. So not that you have to eat that way like that for your entire life, but at this time you may want to experiment with eating for your blood type at this time and just seeing how you feel. Um,
Mm.
Theta Virginis is also has a knack for like financial and mathematical things. So when we think about Virgos that are really good at like accounting and stuff like that, they usually have this activated in their chart. Very meticulous with numbers and really, really good at stuff like that. So obviously with Mars here, the planet of action, if you have any, task or thing on your to-do list where you have to do math or accounting or finances, this is a really, really great time to do it. Or even if you want to obtain something financially, working with Mars at that time is a really, yeah, just it's a favorable time to do that. And then we have Mars that's going to be activating Spica, I would say between the 10th, peaking 11th, 12th, into the 13th, 14th. Um, so quite a kind of a longer activation there. And Spica is the healing star that is associated with natural modalities of health. So exactly like Sonia was saying since the beginning of food is the first medicine, this is the star that truly embodies that energy. It holds those codes of food is medicine. Um, and it often highlights a lot of our consumption habits. So around this time, Mars energy is really going to be emphasizing like the actions that you take and the consumptions that you do are closely associated with how your reality is, your health, but also other things. Because Spica is the sister star of Matrix over here. I would say semi-sister star. They're energetically connected because Matrix is a star that's associated with the upward or the downward spiral of ascension and descension. And so Spica is often the remedy star for what Matrix things during activations and alignments and things that may happen of the energetic spiral of choices. So it's like the actions that you're taking during Matrix alignments are either spiraling you upwards or downwards, and Spica can help reverse anything if you're going downwards, basically. So Spica can be the physical manifestation of how we're healing and making choices that are more aligned with ascension versus descension. And it's also a star that holds the energy of you reap what you sow. So at this time, it's very important that whatever choices you're making, that you're going to be accepting of the choices that you're making down the road. And you also may be getting the rewards of the fruit of your labor at that time for things that you've already done. So that is, it can be an exciting time. And I will also say, Mars is going to be activating Arcturus around this time as well. So anyone who is Arcturian or works with the Arcturians or, involved with that type of energy, it will probably be a pretty intense time for you with Mars there.
Mm. Mm. I've been meaning to ask you with your level of like specificity and detail with these readings and just how you deeply look at the stars. What are your like you must have something in Virgo and I'm like, do you have Mars in Virgo? Like what is it? Tell
I
me.
don't. I don't. Um, so I used to have, so I've a lot of Gemini. I'm a Gemini rising. So for me, it comes through Gemini of like wanting all of the data.
Hmm.
And then I used to have a six house stellium.
Mm,
Now I only have two placements, but I use the 13 house system.
right.
So I don't have a Virgo stellium anymore, but no, I don't have Virgo.
Yeah. That's so interesting because I don't have any Virgo placements either, but I am a sixth house stellium, but I haven't used the 13 sign system yet because
Hmm.
I just couldn't find, like, I don't have the advanced software because I have a Mac. Um, so I wasn't able to use that.
So there's only one calculator that I know of that does it, and that it does run on Macs. But I was not um the different packages that they had, not one had everything that I wanted. So I was like, I don't want to
Mm.
have multiple subscriptions for the same program. I do all my calculations by hand, so I just segment it in 13 houses by hand myself.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I would
So
love to learn that. Please put that into a course so I can buy it and learn that. That would be
yeah,
great.
I've been wanting to make quite a few courses, but as a manifesting generator, I'm sure you know, so many projects that are happening like all the time.
Mhm, mhm.
Alrighty. So, oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's time to move to Jupiter. So we have Jupiter that is in Gemini. Oh, yeah, wait, my Jupiter's in Virgo.
I was
Okay,
gonna say,
Jupiter,
I'm
I
like,
hear
there
you.
is
Okay.
something. I'm
Yeah,
like, there
yeah.
is
Okay, yeah,
something.
yeah.
I'm like, it
I'm
is a
so
big,
sorry, Jupiter.
it is a big one.
Yeah, I work with Jupiter all the time too. Yeah, no, Jupiter is definitely in Virgo. I was
Okay, that
thinking of
makes
like
sense.
my major placements,
Right.
and then I was like, no, it must be my sixth house stellium. Wait, no, I don't have a sixth house stellium anymore. Yeah, it's Jupiter. And
It's so
Jupiter
funny.
is the planet that I work with like the most.
Same. In terms of like actually connecting with her in the sky as well. Like right now, I'm so sad because I'm not an early bird. So me and Jupiter aren't getting one-on-one time
Oh,
at
me
the
neither. I'm
moment.
nocturnal, straight up.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Like that's why we're astrologers. We're
exactly.
nocturnal.
That's the only time you can see the sky. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the only
Like
time you can
why
see the
else?
stars, I guess.
It's hard having a baby though, because like he only likes to sleep with me, so I can't really leave him to go. Like sometimes I'll literally like take my sleeping baby so I can start
Aw,
getting. It's
that's
quite
awesome.
cute. I think
Uh-huh.
it's good for him. I think it is. I think it's healthy.
Hmm.
Fresh air and some starlight.
Absolutely. Definitely.
That's so
So we
cool.
we have Jupiter in Gemini. Oh, Jupiter, sorry. So we have Jupiter that is moving through Gemini. Again, it's going to be activating Wazat for quite some time. I would say it's already getting there. It's going to be at its peak around the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And again, it's going to be very influential during that trine of the
Mm,
moon and sextile of the sun at the peak of the eclipse. And then Jupiter continues its movement through Gemini. It will be activating El-Kirkab, I would say around the 21st into October is when we're going to have the activation. Um, so while Jupiter is activating Wazat, we talked a lot about this activation during the eclipse. So again, there's that, travel is very favorable to various locations where you're going back to a certain destination, places that you have already visited. There's a lot about that wine and fermentation and poisons in general. So be very mindful because wherever Jupiter touches, it gets bigger. Things tend to expand. So if you work in the wine industry, great time for you. I can already tell very, very abundant if you, any sort of fermentation, kombucha or beer or anything else that ferments. I'm fermented foods, I guess, kimchi business, holla. Um, it's going to be a really, really great time for you. If you want to invest in a company that does fermentation processes, this is a great time to do it. Just take the action and invest in those companies because it's going to be a very, very abundant investment for you.
mm,
Um, and this star is also known for inseparable doubles. So this energy links to things or people, whatever it may be, that don't want to be apart. So it also holds the energetic principle of subatomic entanglement type energy.
mm,
So Jupiter loves to connect us with people who are worldly, who want to expand our horizon, bring us, new ideas, philosophies, belief systems, or ways of understanding, help us see the world physically or, through a new lens. So if you meet someone around this time, you will probably end up being quite close. Maybe not forever, but it feels like you will be inseparable for this time. So pay close attention to things, people that might materialize. Um, like a physical example, I guess would kind of be like a chopstick. You know, a pair of chopsticks, like something that should never be separated, kind of
So
thing.
cute. You're my chopstick.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, just pay attention to anything that's kind of like that, of like two, like a whole that really is two halves. Not saying that anyone is incomplete on their own. Of course, no other human being will ever complete us. We are whole by ourselves, but it does kind of hold that energy.
Mm.
And then, um, so, I kind of want to go back for a second. Because there are some alignments that are actually happening during this time as well. So, on on the 9th, which it's still aligned with was at, but not as much, it's going to be aligned exactly with yin yang or Iota Gemini. And I really love this star. Um, I probably just because having my Gemini influence, but the star is associated with balancing your own masculine and feminine energy, or your own yin and yang energy, through your right and left hemisphere of your brain. So through the multi-hemispheres crosstalk, through the corpus callosum, you're able to balance your own energy system. So this star is associated with bilateral symmetry, mirror imagery, and how the right hemisphere controls the left part of the body, the left hemisphere controls the right part of the body. Um, and it helps bring our electrical system to assist in our nervous calm system regulation that builds a foundation of total electrical upgrades with yin and yang balanced in the art body. So I really like highlighting this star because I think it's so important, because this energy, the energy of your own yin and yang, like of your energetic field, is going to influence absolutely everything else in your body. So while you're going through this, it is really going to um, help you with everything else. Like this is such an essential star when it comes to like nervous calm system regulation in general. So obviously with Jupiter here, this is a lot based on the information that's running in your body in terms of philosophies or ontologies, theologies, belief systems. And so it's a really great time to welcome new perceptions that allow your own energy to balance, because that energetic aura that you are emitting is also going to influence the um, how your external reality is reflected back at you and other people, other individuals, as well as um, just situations in general. And then on the 17th, it's going to be exactly aligned with Castor. And so this embodies the divine balance between the material and the spiritual realms. So it holds the yin polarity. And so when this alignment happens, it's very important to be embodying more receptivity energy, nurturance, stillness, rest, pacificity, more of all the feminine energies. So when this when alignments with Castor happen, it can also stimulate like the twin flame progression, especially in terms of the yin energy. Um, Even though the star is very much associated with like keen intellect, it's really able to sort of bait others with ideas and words and kind of like get them to believe a certain thing. Um, And it's often through the energy of like offering some sort of alternative to something that seems like so alluring that makes people want to kind of switch their mind about it. And it's known to have like a knack for the law and theater and politics. So, with all this Jupiterian energy, there can be that kind of soapboxy kind of energy that can materialize for the collective. But at the same time, Jupiter can be assisting in expanding our minds by offering like different vantage points about these various themes. Um, but it is something to kind of look out for of because it is so yin based, which is kind of the unseen forces of things. When, Jupiter plus Gemini energy come together, it can be, a lot of kind of almost like a soothsaying energy is how it's feeling.
What does that mean? I don't know what that term means.
Oh, soothsaying is like the most famous soothsayer was Rasputin, who would like soothsay the sun with hemophilia. So it's almost like verbal spells that kind of like enchant your mind, or almost it's I almost want to say like hypnosis type energy.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like bringing people to this point of like calm and peace to the point that they can easily be told what to do in a
Hmm.
way.
Hmm. 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 Very interesting. And all of that being said, obviously we could go down a dark timeline with it, but I think this is like prime energy for, again, surrounding yourself with people that have healthy perspectives and ways of like speaking and thinking about life in the world, right? Like get yourself the coach or the mentor, right? Or a new group of friends. And, but this really, like, it just reminds me of like hypnotherapy, like going
Mm-hmm.
in to deeply speak to your subconscious in a healthy, empowered way. Um, so that, those polarities can kind of integrate. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely does not always have to be the nefarious intention. Even, like soothing a crying child can be kind of considered the same thing. Or, like a toddler who's throwing a tantrum of like, they want to stay at the park, like, no, no, like, oh, but how about we go make dinner together? You love cooking together. It's still, there needs to be a better synonym for manipulation in a way, kind of coaxing, but those terms aren't always, yeah, with nefarious intention whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but obviously, people
Could
who
just
are,
be
it's really great
guidance.
to guidance. Yeah, I think that's a
Honestly,
great,
healthy
yeah, that's a great word.
manipulation is guidance.
Yeah,
That's what it
that's a great point. Yeah,
is.
helping guide people in the right direction. Yeah.
Right? But
Uh-huh.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes you need to selectively say certain things in order to guide people a certain way. And it's for the greater good. That's very Scorpio. It's like manipulation for the greater good.
It's true. And like with Jupiter and Gemini, it's so much like the words absolutely matter.
Hmm.
Do,
Oh,
do you
yeah.
have more thoughts on Gemini and Jupiter? Or I mean, Jupiter and Gemini? See, that's why words matter. Boop.
Gemini and Jupiter. I honestly, like, again, I'm just very clearly getting the message. Like, the words you say to yourself matter, the words you say to other people matter, the words the people around you are saying, the words that you're taking in, right? And also it's it's like write the book, say the thing, like just please, like, and get around the people and around the information, around the courses that you need in order to be able to feel comfortable, like sharing your voice, creating your art, like putting your message out there in the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we'll move on to Chiron here. So Chiron, not doing much, very, very slow moving for the entirety of this time. Um, it It has been activating Omicron Pisceum. It's retrograding all of this month. It will continue its retrograde until January 2nd. It started its retrograde on July 31st. If you want to learn more about Omicron Pisceum, you can go ahead and watch the Pisces episode, which explains all about it. But in terms of Chiron retrograde, this is a really great time for healing, revisiting old wounds that need attention, stimulating healing gifts that you've been sitting on that the world needs. So, Chiron's in Pisces, so these things are mainly spiritual in nature, ethereal things, multi-dimensional self-type stuff. But in general, this is the collective consciousness of everybody healing on a collective level in this. So, all we can do is on the microcosmic scale, heal ourselves, do that work so that it influences the macrocosmic reality. Because truly, you can only heal yourself. You can pave the way, you can show people how it's done, you can work in the healing arts. Energy work is absolutely real. The stuff that Sunny and I both do absolutely helps heal people.
Mhm.
But it's their job to do their own healing work. So, with Chiron and Pisces, it's definitely healing all the delusions and illusions of, savior complexes and
Mhm.
martyr complexes and all that kind of junk. So,
Mhm.
um, in general, I feel like with Chiron and Pisces and Chiron retrograde in Pisces, people are just going to be stimulated to do like what their soul is telling them to do, which is a
Mhm.
spiritual calling, no matter what it is, whether you want to be an investment banker or a gardener or farmer or um, gymnast, like anything. If your soul is calling you to do it, it's a soul calling. So it's spiritual
Mhm.
in nature, no matter what it is.
Mm. There it is. That has been my Chiron experiences. Witnessing the pain of humanity and how much healing is required, and then also like this elation at how many people are doing healing and now offering healing arts or information so that that can happen. It's a very profound time to witness it collectively. It's been very interesting to like birth children and witness children who have Pisces Chiron, and especially amongst like spiritual and healing and wellness community practitioners and leaders, for many of us to have children with Chiron and Pisces. It's been very interesting. I feel like some of the medicine of it is um like sometimes in order to heal like spiritual wounds, especially if you've ever experienced spiritual abuse,
Mhm.
um, is to actually just get really in the body, like get really Virgo about it, like daily tending to something like your body or a garden or the home, or something that is healthy, is and very grounded and tangible and real, is at like even like tea ceremony or something, just being very conscious and aware and present in your body and in life is a really powerful way to not only practice spirituality, but to also heal from the wildness that is out there with spirituality, with the egoism. Like I know for myself, I went full into it and then I've gone fully out, and I'm kind of really deciding where my where my voice is needed in this space. Hmm.
I totally resonate with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And I think that's such a great point because a lot of people who may not have a spiritual reference point or who grew up in a religious household or indoctrination in any sort of way, um, sometimes you go to the devil you don't know instead of the one that you do, sort of thing, especially people who are raised in religious households. So the first kind of spiritual thought, you just attach yourself to it because it's anything but, what you already know is evil or what you already know is wrong. Um, so I think a lot of people are kind of moving to that similar space, and we'll see it in waves for sure, of people who are a little bit further along in their spiritual path of not resonating with any sort of organized anything. I love what you said earlier. What was it? Something like down with dogma or something like that?
Yeah. Down with dogma in general.
Yes, like yes, I love that. I love that so much because yes, exactly. Dogmatic practice in any way is inherently limiting. That's literally what it is. It
Hmm.
points to one thing and excludes everything else.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's
I
not
mean,
like respectful of sovereignty.
yes,
And I
yes,
think that's
exactly.
also part of Chiron and Pisces and it being in retrograde is like, whoa. And I was talking about it yesterday in my stories, is like it feels so ironic that, you know, spiritual people often preach love and acceptance, yet people that don't follow their exact like lifestyle or beliefs, like they can't tolerate at all. And so there's this element of like, how can I really deeply love and respect and accept everyone's free will choice to do what they do and who they are, while also like, creating a safe world.
Yes. While lovingly guiding them if they want it, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
of course.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
they want it and they're
exactly.
willing
If
and
they
they're
want
looking
it,
for
that's
it,
the most important thing. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even like for me personally, one of my biggest, uh, I guess, kind of pet peeves, I'll say, is when people utilize their free will to act like they don't have it. That I'm just like, oh, come on, please, like recognize you have it. Like people who feel like they don't have a choice, they're stuck. This is the way life is, and it's never gonna get better. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, honey. But
Well, yeah, it's very clear through a lot of the statements that you've made that like victim mentality is not the bag. Right?
yeah, no,
It's not the place to come
yeah,
from. And I
exactly.
think it's very powerful to keep on reminding ourselves of that, especially with Chiron and Pisces. It can be really tempting to fall
Hmm.
into that like endless ocean of darkness and depth and victimhood.
Hmm.
And but it's also like that's where the compassion comes from, is like, how can I not like blame a victim and being like, oh, you're just being a victim? It's like,
Hmm.
okay, like how can you have compassion and love for someone that's going through pain and suffering and even yourself, while also being like, and you're the creator of your life, and like you might be in pain, but you can still make something better without it just being all like sunshine and rainbows only, right? Because that's just not real.
Exactly.
That's just not
Yeah,
human. So
absolutely
it's a
not.
really interesting balancing act. Like
Hmm.
this is why Pisces is the wisest, deepest of the signs, because it's so much to hold our humanity and there is no right answer.
Yeah, it's true. It's this and that and everything in between, and also nothing. That's what I love about Pisces.
Like
It
who
just
cares?
really, yeah, exactly. Um, and yeah, I really love, and that's the thing is like, especially being tropical Scorpio type energy of coming from the underworld of, me myself, like, I mean, I always believed I had free will, but being stuck in victim mentality type energy and, not believing there was ever anything other than darkness because it's all I ever knew,
Mm-hmm.
um, to now being out of it. Yeah, for me, sometimes I struggle with that compassion of like, hey, people, come on, let's get out of there. Like, that definitely, that's something I need to work on. So thank you for saying that because I definitely need that. Because I'm like, I've done it. You could do it too.
Oh, of
Like
course.
just keep going till you get there. Like I promise you'll get there. But then again, not everybody gets there, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And speaking of that Pisces energy, we also have double, I don't want to say whammy, but double woohoo of Saturn and Neptune also in Pisces, but in Pisces Cetus void type energy. They've been conjunct for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still, you know, I would say fairly closely conjunct considering their outer planets.
Yeah.
Care to share your thoughts on Saturn and Neptune in Pisces?
Mm. Well, like first layer is the art needs to be made. And it's like, oh, that is the legacy. The legacy is the art, right? And so often, artists, especially ones that want to do it professionally or really want to spend a large portion of their life making art and producing it for themselves in the world, they can be in that victim mentality of this won't sustain me or this is not okay. And a lot of that is past life stuff and ancestral stuff, and it's not even real. And so much of what's being broken right now is like it is safe, it is abundant, it is magical to make art. And I'm going through that activation myself because I'm recording an album, which is so crazy. Like it's literally my deepest childhood joy. Talking about, circling back to like Leo level heart-centered childhood joy, it's making art and making music. And it's this really deep sense of like, what rules do you need to break in your family, in society, in your way of thinking so that your art can really be present in your life and also so that your dreams can come true, right? It's like actually knowing and trusting that your dreams can come true and that they already have. And of course, listening to the wisdom of your dreams, like both waking and sleeping dreams. Um, like I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for like big generational conjunctions and the fact that we've had several conjunctions of this year. Like this really to me it's like the year of the artist being activated over the energy of like the leader and the savior, right? Like that's what's dying off. Especially people that are righteous and think that they know better. It's like no, it's like that's why I call it cosmic arts. It's cosmic arts training. It's not like, hey, you're superior than someone. Let's all be leaders and to tell people exactly what to do because of their astrology. It's like we're all artists and we have our unique ways and formats of describing the stars in life. And yeah, I just think it's such a cool opportunity. And it's also like very foundation breaking. Like it's like I think of a world at peace has a lot of art and creation in it. Like that's what people are free to do is they're just free to create. And this conjunction is like such a massive like activator for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally agree. And something you said about, the artists, breaking their the generational or multi-lifetime thing of thinking that it won't sustain them or something like that. I always like to remember or remind um, artists that are clients of mine of like art is one of the final, I mean, everything is abundant and limitless, but art is one of the most beautiful, infinite ways to receive. Like there's no cap on what you can receive for art whatsoever. You never have to put
Hmm.
um, any sort of realistic price point on anything, especially if it's something like like a painting or a drawing or something like that. It's one of the last forms of legal money laundering. And so this notion of starving artists, it just needs to be deleted because you can
Hmm.
sell, a
Hmm.
banana taped to a wall for millions of dollars, whatever you create, you set the value. You, based on how you view your own self-worth, will set the value of what that is. But I've met artists who have gone from selling their paintings $30, $40 to 3,000, 5,000, $30,000. There's always a market, there's always someone willing to pay for it. It's really just valuing yourself at a certain level of what you feel safe to receive.
Hmm.
So I always like tell artists like overcharge what you think it's worth. Just put it out there for more and just see what happens. Like it's gonna sell. It's gonna sell. So yeah, I really love that because I want to see more and more wealthy artists in this world. Like creation, and that's the thing, creators in general, whether it's art or whatever business,
Hmm.
whatever it is that's being created. Yeah, house, garden, like creators are always rewarded by the universe because you're in that co-creating energy with the universe, and the universe is always going to give you what you need so that you can prioritize that. And as
Hmm.
someone who came from not that very stuffy corporate science world to then prioritizing my own creations, like I have been infinitely supported. So
Hmm.
anyone who is feeling that way, let that be a testament, like feel safe to do so.
Hmm.
It's one of those things of like um you have to trust in the universe to be taken care of, and it really does work.
Absolutely. Hallelujah. Amen.
Um, so we have Saturn and Neptune. Um, yeah, with this conjunction for me, a lot of it with the Saturn retrograding is that reassessment of our long-term goals of like work, career, vocation, allocation of resources on a larger scale, and sort of public relations. Um, and then, on like the grand scale, there's this revamping of our social structures that are going on, governments. Um, and, when Saturn is retrograding, it can cause businesses to fail, governments to fall, government officials to step down, or whatever it may be. And you know, for the good of the collective. So again, since it's, retrograding in Pisces Cetus, this is for the greatest good of the collective, as well as, multi-lifetime Cetus codes that come through as well. And Saturn began its retrograde on July 14th, and it's going to end its retrograde on November 27th. So it's retrograding all of this 30-some day period. Saturn is not really going to be moving much this month. Again, Saturn is a slow moving planet, but it is going to be aligning with Sheet up here, which is part of the Great Square of Pegasus. And so, in general, Pegasus alignments, they help the collective in terms of timeline stuff of like winning like holy wars until we're on a timeline where war machines and war timelines are completely shut down. So they ensure that certain things happen in order to get to those utopian timelines. Sheet is part of it, the energy of it helps solidify the foundation for the founder throne room and protects the 1111 gateways. Pegasus energy, a lot of it has been hijacked. Obviously, we are in some timelines where, there's war and things going on. Again, those are being reclaimed and shut down. But there's a lot of polarity inversion, gender reversal, anti-hierogamy technology that is used in this star. A lot of sexual misery programs that come through that star. And so with Saturn aligned there, Saturn energy is helping heal that universal shadow body in regards to those themes. And like the lowest vibe of Saturn being there is like restrictions and the overarching kind of governmental overreach that Saturn can sometimes have that can be torturous to the mind. So, it's kind of like someone who goes nuts because the government does this is this or whatever, like so obsessively can't get anything else out of their mind, just so obsessed that they go a bit crazy. So I definitely recommend when we're having a line of sheet, keep your protection up, rest, recharge, because that energy can be a little gunky. And then obviously Neptune's home in Pisces, been there for years, started in 2021, will continue through 2039, 2040. And Neptune in Pisces, major, spiritual upheaval for the collective to connect to the unseen realms, understand metaphysical reality more, see through mass illusions and delusions, especially, spells cast on the general populace. And it also helps stimulate the imagination. So just like Sonia was saying, a lot of it is that artistry type energy. The dreamers are awakening. They're asked to share their visions and their creations and their gifts with the world. So I really love Neptune and Pisces. It's a very long transit, but it's necessary that it's that long because like we really, really need that.
Mm. I just had a sense of like being so grateful that we came to Earth for this time. Like, yeah.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm just
Mm.
so thankful for everything, everything. Um, Everything that has been, is, and will be. Like, oh, even the darkest of days and
Mhm.
all of the most terrible, soul-wrenching shadow work that was necessary. It's all worth it
Mhm.
because the other side is incredible. Or no, it is credible. Gotta be
Mhm.
careful with these words. So Uranus here is in the Taurus star system. It's been activating the Pleiades cluster for quite some time. It's really not doing much during this because Uranus is pretty slow. So for the whole month, it's going to be in Taurus, activating Pleiades, but we do have a retrograde that is beginning on September 7th, which is the eclipse. So hold
Mhm.
on to your britches. And then it continues its retrograde until February 3rd. So I kind of touched upon it a little bit before about Uranus activating the Pleiades. So Taurus is helping anchor all that technology and science that work with nature rather than against it. So
Yeah.
sacred mathematics and engineering are simulated to the collective. Group and community relationships are created based on people's relationship with the earth. It's a very farmer's market or community garden type energy. So again, if anyone feels, stimulated to create that, do it. Please do. And if you don't feel like you have the energy or time, Google if there's one near you. Maybe you really don't have to do much. Maybe all you have to do is go on a walk once a week and water it, or, pick out a couple weeds, or harvest it, like whatever is necessary in order to do your part so that you can receive from it. And a
Mm,
lot of social stratification is going to be based on how people honor their body, how people are respecting the planet, and what quality of resources people accept into their life. That's a lot of that Uranus and Taurus activating the Pleiades energy. And
mm.
so, Sonia, your thoughts on Uranus and Taurus, and also Uranus retrograde when that happens, beginning on the 7th, and yeah.
Whew. Well, the retrograde is really interesting in term, especially because it's a full moon in Aquarius. Um, it feels like, whoa, like like what I was saying before, it's truly like mind-blowing shifts will occur, and it will take some time to integrate it. Like it might even be that whole retrograde period from like what happened and became clear, the epiphanies that were had during the eclipse, like really kind of settle. I always think like eclipse season to eclipse season is like its own integration time highway.
Absolutely.
I think that's really, really interesting. I also think that it's also like, whoa, um, I'm I'm reminded of a Taylor Swift lyric that's like, nothing's been the same since that meteor strike. And she talks about it in terms of like when there's this like flash moment in your life that changes your whole perspective and all of your expectations and what you even like think is possible. And it takes time to integrate. So I actually think it's like a blessing that Uranus is going retrograde during that time, because especially it being in Taurus, it's like, oh, anchor back in, get into your life, get into your body, right? When it's like chaotic out there, you get more in here. And for me, the Pleiades is my favorite star system. And um it very much is like very connected to indigenous wisdom, because many indigenous star stories speak about it being the origin point. And for Uranus to be present there for this long period of time, it's really about like remembering indigenous wisdom. And food is the first medicine, but like the food that grows wild is truly the medicine. And that is
Mhm.
indigenous medicine that's like in our bones that can be remembered. Um, I've been making a joke because there's this new feature on iPhone where you take a picture of a plant and it immediately has this little plant icon at the very bottom of the picture, and you can click on it and it does like a search of what plant it thinks it is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my iPhone is like an indigenous grandmother teaching me about the plants and herbs I see around me. But I think it's such a cool, interesting tool because unfortunately, there aren't just Indigenous grandmothers everywhere to teach us, especially like local, right? Like my roots are in Croatia and in Bosnia, and didn't get to learn that. But it's interesting because I'm really into rose hips, and the first time I ever foraged was rose hips, and it felt like such a deep cellular memory. And I only found out like literally 5 years later that my grandfather and grandmother in Bosnia used to forage rose hips all the time and make syrup and jam and tea. And I was like, oh, I know how to do
That's
this. So it's really
amazing.
this like remembering of like ancestral medicine ways and being with the land and letting the earth heal you and thereby you heal the earth. Like it's just this beautiful reciprocity.
That is really beautiful. And also a great point to touch upon that we didn't mention earlier, especially when it comes to, the quality of food stuff that you're putting in your body, of like the most financially um, abundant, I guess, the least or the most cost-effective thing you could do is forage because it's free. If you go to a local park and, I had no idea about the iPhone thing. That's great. I'm going to try it. I'm really excited for that. But foraging is wonderful, and it's a really great reminder that even if you feel you don't have enough money for food, literally there's food everywhere. We were taught for so long to forget that wisdom, but the earth provides absolutely everything for us. That it's so important to remember how abundant we are because the planet is abundant and we are of the planet. So that's why we are infinitely abundant as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is really, really beautiful. And of course, there's things like pantries and soup kitchens and things. There's no one ever needs to go hungry whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but still, yeah, that is such a great point. And such a beautiful thing about the rose hips. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. I love it.
It's so profound. We literally
Yeah.
have like two giant bags of frozen blackberries that we foraged just in the last week, and we're gonna go get more. And we had a massive just plums in our backyard. Like it's just such a blessing. Like the earth is such a blessing. And I really think that this is such a powerful way to like almost it's like we're coming to a close of this collective reading, and like that is the reminder,
Hmm.
right? Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. What are your plans with the blackberries?
Well, we've made a lot of crisps. We make constant crisp. And
Is that like an
just,
apple crisp, about a berry
yeah,
crisp?
you just use
Okay.
blackberry and then you just put like a kind of an oat crumble on top, which is so good. And definitely smoothies. And I think I might make jam, but I might want to keep it for the whole winter. So I think I'm just going to use it to like make a smoothie. I'm a smoothie girly.
Yeah, me too.
Hummingbird. I knew I would see one. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Good sign.
Here we
Hummingbird
go.
medicine is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite, other than eagle. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
like eagle spirit too. As an
Mm-hmm.
old Scorpio, it's stuck with me.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Um, so yes, as we're coming to a close, we're talking about our good old friend Pluto. And
Mm.
so, of course, Pluto's still in this Sagittarius Capricornus void. It is inching, maybe even smaller, centimetering nearer to Capricornus every single year. And it's been toggling its alignment with Altair, which is
Mm.
America's true Pluto return star. So if you um, are
Speaking of the
in,
eagle.
yes, exactly. There it is. If you're in the United States of America and you're interested in that Pluto return star, Altair, there is a special topic episode on the Pluto return, so you can go ahead and listen to that. That is part of season one. But in general, with Pluto here, it is assisting in shutting down the surveillance state. Thank you, Pluto. We love it. And Pluto is going to be retrograding all month. It started its retrograde on May 4th. It's going to continue until October 13th. So it's, yeah, retrograding this
Mhm.
whole time. It does make one alignment um, oh my God, it's on September 11th.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting September 11th this year.
Yeah, definitely. So Pluto is making its alignment um, with Siberia.
Do you just do this like naked eye? Because I think it's so cool. Like watching your process is so fun for me right now.
Oh, thank you.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
there it is.
Like
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
getting a master class.
of Cygnus. That's right. Alberio of Cygnus. So it's swan spirit codes that are coming through.
Mm,
Um, and then so um it is going to be so Alberio is associated with different sound codes and how sound creates matter. So it's connected to language and how certain language and words have been utilized to purposely infiltrate the minds of the masses to materialize certain phenomenon, and how distortions of language cause is the foundation of distortion of physical reality of the material realm. So with
mhm,
Pluto here, we need to recognize like the shadow programs that are running and that need to be halted in terms of language. So, an example would how people say like that they're dead when something is funny. It's like no,
mhm.
laughter brings you joy and life. It does not bring you death
Yeah.
and nothingness. So it's like people are literally summoning death to them without fully comprehending what they're actually saying. Or,
Mhm.
people who even like segmenting days into weeks of like putting that week energy on yourself of like, how
Mhm.
was your week of just weak, right? It's like a spell of making you weak, or people who talk about, oh, something like, oh, they low key this. It's like, okay, you're unintentionally summoning Loki, uh, an agent of chaos and destruction towards you. So it's like all of these little spells in your spelling, all of that comes through Alberio. So obviously with Pluto here, allow language to transform at this time. Like you may have an epiphany of like, oh my God, this word is bad for me, or like you hear a new word of like, oh, okay, I want to use that instead. Um, which personally, like the way that I've shifted my language, I've noticed so many different things since I've just cleaned up the words that I've used and like making sure that I'm not using sound codes that will materialize a dystopian timeline for myself, and not even just phrasing, like literally just words that are so commonplace, just deleting them completely. Um, and so specifically with Alberio, so Cygnus helps reinstill and reinstate organic monetary functioning on this planet. So all of
Mhm.
the old programs that used to be run by, only evil people have money type things because they
Mhm.
had that machinery installed into the collective. It's already been uninstalled. So Cygnus energy in general is reinstating material wealth allocation. That's why we see more millionaires ever. That's why random people can become millionaires. You don't have to be part of a bloodline. You don't have to be part of a group. You don't have to do blood sacrifices or sell your soul. Like all those things are absolutely unnecessary in our monetary system.
Mhm.
So Alberio is one of the stars that helps you with that, specifically with language. So,
Mhm.
allowing it emphasizes the shifts in language around money, around finances, around material resources that help restore organic functioning of wealth allocation across the entire planet. So,
Mhm.
it'll help you remove any terms that might manifest lack or scarcity or poverty. And
Mhm.
with Pluto here, it's really helping with multi-lifetime and
Yeah.
multi-generational curses on language.
Oh, let the Gen Zs know.
Yes.
Also, everyone. And
Yeah,
also
yeah.
don't call them Gen Zs. Like, let the current generation know, like this Pluto generation, or no, they wouldn't be. I think they're like Pluto Ophiuchus, actually, which is very interesting.
Mhm.
Um, Whoa, that just blew my mind. I feel like this whole conversation, just speaking to you, has been a masterclass in Gemini NLP, like what you say becomes reality. Be very aware of the spells you're casting. Um, Reminder, right? Because for me, I've always thought it was very silly that people are like, oh, you should control your thoughts. I'm like, that's really one of the things you can't really control. You can be mindful of the thoughts you're having, but the things you say, that's really where you can have, like, that's where there's choice, right? In what you're
Mhm.
saying. And consciousness can be brought to it, and there can be awareness of thoughts and then awareness of like, okay, let's change those and let's choose what we say into the world. And I feel very called out, but also called forward to be
Oh,
very, very clear in my languaging moving forward. And I use a lot of personal examples just because that's the way that I teach, but I also just think it's so powerful to showcase like how the cosmos are like personally impacting us and what they mean in our lives and how that's like very relevant. I love that you use like really fun analogies. Like you always, your analogies are
thank you.
incredible. Chopstick, I will never forget.
I try
Uh,
to make things as relevant to the broadest population possible where they can get
yes,
an
I see
imagery in their head. Yeah.
that. Truly Gemini magic. It's just
Thank you.
awesome. Is that where your Mars is? Is that what you said?
No, my ascension point is in Gemini.
Rising sign. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. I was previously a Gemini rising. I don't have any placements in Gemini. Um, and people are like, that's so confusing, but I have a lot of Sag, so
Uh-huh.
this is what I do. for the polarity. Wow. I think what's also really interesting is that is like the fox, um, right? Like looking at that star and it's like cunning and swift,
So
being
it's
very,
actually the beak of the swan. But yes,
yes, the fox
the
below
fox is
is
right
looking
under
up,
it. Yeah, you're right.
right?
Speaking of Loki,
And
huh?
right, I like to, I mean, the way that I teach a lot is like looking at all the animals and just intuitively, like, what are they teaching us? What are they saying? Why are they positioned here? Like, what is this? And I'm also very fascinated in like, okay, this is one interpretation and like what are the indigenous stories, which I think a lot of what you're speaking to comes out is because a lot of like fixed star information is quite cross-cultural.
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, I think it's very interesting that like the fox is kind of the energy I really feel like of the reading is have this awareness of like the sneakiness, the sly, the cunning, the way that we can be manipulated, but also there's like a smarter way for you to go about your life that'll be healthier for you, that will make you feel better, that will see you reaping the rewards of your gifts and your hardest work in the world, but also like receiving abundantly from just like the nature. Like nature is naturally abundant and it is your nature to be abundant and you get to create and make art and like, have a foxy time. It's a
Hmm.
little sexy as well with all that Hydra energy and Venus. And um, I just think, wow, like we're in for such a powerful ride and it's so immense. Um, I can't believe this is just the start of like Pluto making these shifts, but it really does
I
seem like
know.
it's like bird's eye view. It's like it's literally the
It's
bird's
true.
eye view of the
Hmm.
swan and the eagle. This is where we begin like the massive changes because you have to have like Pluto has that bird's eye view. It's like the longest cycles
Hmm.
of oh, this has to change and this is where it begins is the information that we're given, the way that we process it, the way that we speak about life. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's such a
super
great point.
powerful.
And even like the slyness of the fox and how the sound codes of Alberio, it's like that is the slickest way that reality has been distorted and kind of that you never really notice until it's changed about
Mhm,
how like the sound codes and the words that you're using, um, like the specific words, but of course also in the larger way, the mantras, the stories that you're telling yourself and things like that. And I think you made a great point about um, the goal isn't to control the thoughts. It's to
mhm,
witness them and then have your higher self be the other voice of like, thank you for that thought. I understand it's to keep me safe. It's
mhm,
familiar, whatever. But what if we replaced it with this?
mhm.
Or let's try to do this. Or one of my favorite things is like, okay, delete, delete, replace with this, and then
Yeah.
I install it like multiple times. It's like you really got to keep your software updates to keep your hardware running smoothly. Um, but I guess that's just how I like to program. But yeah, thank you so much for all of your insight during this month too, because also I feel called out on some things too. Like your transmissions are so beautiful and I was realizing like, okay, this is something I need to work on. Okay, yeah, this is an energy that I really need to work on, like for sure. So I really thank you for that. I guess it's the
Mm,
Pluto level and like tropical Scorpio, or I guess Scorpio Mercury. I need to stop referencing being a tropical Scorpio, but I mean that lifetime still is recognizable, but
mhm,
the power of Scorpio Mercury to highlight um, areas of yeah growth and accountability and things that need to die and be rebirthed is really really
mhm,
beautiful. And yeah, I love the etheric and energetic kind of to-do list to work on myself.
I think that's so powerful. It's so special that we met as like
Hmm.
two Libra suns
Yeah.
with Scorpio Mercury to really give each other this deep, profound, like detailed truth and to call forth. And then we don't even need to like coach each other. We're just like hearing and
Hmm.
receiving what we need to receive and moving forward. I think that's so special. Like it was a really unique, special thing to be able to come for together in this
Hmm.
way. Um, I also have Scorpio Venus, so I just love
Oh,
this.
beautiful. Oh, beautiful. I have Sag Venus, so that's where all my fun comes from.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I've got like a Sag moon and everything else. It's
Oh,
Sag.
nice. Okay, cool.
That's
Uh,
so fun.
uh-huh. And yeah, like I said, I would love to have you on again as a special topic guest. So I'll be reaching out to you about that so we can get that set up. I know
Mhm.
that you're going to be busy with the wedding and the baby, of course, and congratulations again on your engagement and everything else, your baby and your business
Congratulatory
and
time. We also bought a
yeah.
house. It's a very immense time.
Oh, yes, awesome. Yes, congratulations to it all. And so I'll be reaching out at a time that, is most
Hmm.
aligned for you in that regards.
Amazing.
And then have an absolutely wonderful wedding, of course, like many, many blessings to you. And is there any other thoughts that you want to share before we end the episode?
Just thank you. And I'm just so grateful that you do this work and that it's shared so collectively. Like, I really just, there is so much value here. And the fact that you just give it to the world is such a gift and a blessing. And it is like abundance begets abundance. And please do teach me how to self-calculate 13 houses. That's something that myself and other astrologers I know would love to know. Um,
I will add it to my list.
yes. And yeah, I just feel really grateful and blessed that we got to do this today. And I honestly feel like it was a gift to be able to so deeply understand what is coming the month of my child's first birthday and my wedding. I'm
Ah,
like, it feels like a personal gift to me.
oh,
And also it's like such a gift to the collective to be able to share in this way and give people this level of depth. So yeah, thank you so much.
absolutely. And thank you so much for joining and being part of this gift to the collective and sharing your infinite wisdom with us.
Yay.
And for everybody watching, Sonia will be back and I will let you know when that is. But until then, the next episode is going to be a transit report for, it'll be on Tuesday, September 30th at 7:30 p.m. EST here live on YouTube. So come on, tune in, bring your questions. We did not have any questions in the chat, so I'll just let you know that. But that will be an October transit report. So we'll get all those details. And remember, when you align with the true sky, you align with your true self. Until next time, keep looking up. Thanks again, Sonia.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.